We're off already. So many comments. How do you started? But congratulations, we've made it. It's 2 o'clock on a Sunday the 24th of January. We've done well. I'm on time. Couldn't I get any, like my watch just literally says 2, I can't show that screen. Look, 2 p.m. That's GPS timing, which is pretty good for me, boys. Congratulations on making it. We made it through another week. We've made it through another week. Just about. We're hanging on by dear threads. We don't know if we're going to be open, closed. What's happening next month? Who knows? Maybe only Michal knows. Maybe Michal should tell us all as to what exactly is going on in the world of the point of no return, which we seem to be at the moment. The Sunday service just creeps around like a lunatic. So it just drops back in. No problem at all. It's been an exciting week so far. Everything seems to be running okay. I think everything's running okay. I'm not running very efficiently, but that's okay because I'm the problem. I'm the problem with the Sunday service, that it looks deadly until it's running, and then it doesn't look deadly. Anyway, hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit whatever other buttons you can possibly find, please. It'd be brilliant if you could, because we'd love to share this out with as many people as we possibly can, because Sundays is a place for us to hang out and talk about cars and things. I have to pop out my chat. I knew there was something I didn't do before. There we go. That way I can't see myself on the screen, which is probably a very good thing, but I can see all of your chat, which is probably a better thing entirely. It already started this morning, early this morning, with people dropping in and asking questions straight away. So I'll toggle the timestamps there as well. Make sure I can see everything. I can't see it all, weirdly enough. Robert Mulhall was on at 12:30, but I actually think there was comments there this morning from 9 a.m. and I do apologise. Those disappear over the day. I don't know where to go, to be honest with you. They just seem to disappear off the list. Anyway, the range of the MG is going very, very well. If you're watching me on Instagram this morning or on TikTok, you will have seen me out sitting in the passenger seat, letting the wife have a drive around. She's getting used to it as well. You know, it can be hard to move from one car to the other. I take it for granted because I do it all the time. I just shift from a car to a car. I don't even really pay attention much anymore to what keys are with it and whether things are here, over there. You just kind of get on and drive the thing. But of course, my wife, who normally drives a 2006 Seat Leon, has been catapulted into the 2020 MG ZS full electric, and it's been phenomenal. I have to say, hats off ecocars.ie and MG out there as well for making sure that car worked very, very well. We've been ticking around it there for the week. We put €3.50 worth of electricity into it. We're still not out. We still have, like, I think 50 miles, I'm going to say, but it might be more than that left in it, just to tick around as well. We went out walking in the forest yesterday. We have a forest within 5 kilometres of our home, so we're okay. We went strolling out there. We brought the car with us. This happened to anybody else. You get something slightly sticky on the front of your phone and it just bothers you for the rest of the day. You just look at it going, I can see the sticky thing though. I can feel it every time I touch the screen. So the MG's gone very well, Robert Mulhall. Did you get much snow in the Midlands? We did last night. It really snowed down quite heavy last night, and you'd never know it today other than the odd snowman hanging around. Plus it just disappeared. It turned to sleet during the night and then just disappeared off completely. Karina Walsh. Hi Karina. Thanks for previous advice. Keep it up. Ignore the Muppets. Stay cool. I always ignore the Muppets. The Muppets are over there. Muppets, if you think about it, people are Muppets with hands up their arse telling them how to talk. That's what a Muppet is. So congratulations if you are one. You should be proud of that. Pat Nolan. Don't have to give me a shout out. Just let you know I'll be here. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Pat. I recognise that name from TikTok as well. You're over on my TikTok channel, which is now 83, I don't know, 80 something thousand strong at this stage. It's quite a busy little one. 83,500 followers now on TikTok. So it's quite a hotbed of activity, in fairness to it. But nothing like the hotbed of activity on YouTube, which are nearly 60,000 here subscribers, which is much harder to get subscribers on TikTok, on YouTube than it is TikTok. But anyway, Liam says, afternoon off Minishowen, at top of the tip of Ireland. Oh, you're right out there at the very top. You can't go any further. Any further, you fall into the Atlantic. That's where Liam is. That is a place to go. I've been there. Beautiful, beautiful thing to go around that area. If I remember correctly, we took a ferry there once upon a time, and I can't remember what year that was. It may have been the 80s. David Curran, how are you, Bob? Just wondering if you know what the 1.4 litre engine in Passat GTE is the same as the one new plug-in Golf. It is, yeah. If you should avoid it or will have no problem. Actually, I prefer the 1.4 TSI in Volkswagen than the 1.5 that they put out. 1.5 came with kangarooing problems. They kept the 1.4 for the PHEVs, and it works very well. But if you can make a PHEV work very well and you're willing to plug it in the whole time, PHEVs are okay. But you have to plug it in all the time to get any sort of fuel economy. Otherwise, you're carrying around a 70 kg battery under the back seat And that's just like carrying around another person. It's like carrying around a human in the back seat all the time, extra weight that's not charging up. Because PHEVs are only efficient when they have electricity in them. When they're just a hybrid, they're not very efficient. And I've definitely found that out now since we had the MG here. And I have a Tesla Model 3 as well, which has some problems, by the way, a lot of problems actually, but we'll get to the problems in a minute. The Tesla Model 3 is super efficient, no problem with the efficiency parts, and the MG is super efficient in its own little way, shorter range, but really is a very comfortable car, heated seats and all kinds of stuff on it, very good. I just got an email about myself there, 5 minutes late that email came in to say that this is live. It's live, YouTube. Do you ever think you should send it out live? No? Anyway, Adrian Manoni says, hi Bob, many thanks for Toyota Hilux reviews, good car that, yeah. In regards to towing 3 tons and a general drive will not beat the Land Cruiser, which is popular for towing, will Land Cruiser remain relevant? Well, see, the problem is, Adrian, Hilux is very good, but when Hilux is empty, like all of those pickup trucks, they become bouncy on the back, so they're not very comfortable to drive along just around the town without a trailer or without anything in that back part. Once you put something in there, it's quite nice and easy to pull. A Hilux pulls less than a Land Cruiser. Land Cruiser will pull more, heavier weight. Now, if you go over 3.5 ton combined, you need to have a BE license, which is a different license. So be very careful of that. 750 kg above, you need brakes on the trailer, and 3.5 ton combined for the 2 items, including all of the passengers, all of the stuff on board, everything else happening. Then you can drive that in a B license. But it's very hard to prove actually what weight it is. But if you're getting, if you're wondering about Hilux or Land Cruiser for actual work, I would still go Land Cruiser, because Land Cruiser is a proper car. You get 5 seats. You can have a 7-seat one. That's the Amazon, I think it's called, which is very expensive. But like, it's still a much more grown up, much more refined, useful car rather than the Hilux, which is kind of more specific. If someone wants to carry pallets, maybe a carpenter type maybe would find some sort of ladder thing they could put up, or a roofer or something might find useful. But over here I think they're quite limited, those SUV type pickup trucks. MM says, hi boob. It's okay, you've had an extra O. I can live with that. Some people just go boo, some people boob, some people Paul. I don't get that one either. Good afternoon. How often do I service a car's 2014 Audi A4? And I got it last month. Once a year, or between 10 and 15,000 kilometers, basically around there. If you're servicing around 20,000 kilometers a year, you need to service once a year. That's it. Change your oil at least. A good idea to learn to service your own car if it's out of warranty. I wouldn't worry about it so much. You know, lots of people worry about staying in warranty, but 2014, your warranty's gone. So it'd be worth learning to change the oil for yourself. But if you're concerned about it, go to a dealership, get a proper mechanic to do it. Do it on hearsay. Thank you very much for the donation there from Jim Dunn. Jim the bus driver is, as always, a very reliable donator and subscriber to the channel. Thank you very much. Send it by PayPal. You can do the same thing. You want to send it by Super Chat or PayPal, or if you want to become a Patreon, maybe you want to Patreon the whole account, which would help as well. A little small drip feed of money every month towards the cameras and things. Where was I? Flavanite Disciples here as well. Given a tragic loss of child copying TikTok challenge, how do we protect impressionable and unsuitable content from these platforms more so doing these times? Good afternoon, everybody. It's impossible. I'll be honest with you. TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook are such a huge draw of content. It's this constant, relentless push on content the whole time. So you put so much out there that it's impossible for any algorithm thing to get it right all the time and try and pull down content that doesn't work. So you will never be able to stop that. When I was young now, before there was ever social media, there was deaths of people copying all kinds of games and things. They used to play Ouija boards and all sorts of stuff. That all existed long before there was computers. It's always been happening. Really, the answer is education. Education. If you're a parent and you got kids and they're on social media, learn what they're doing, what they're at, become part of the conversation yourself rather than stand outside and going, social media is bad, because you can't stop it. It's a great big freight train and it's going straight through the world right now. It's destroying some things, it's improving other things. So be part of the conversation, be part of the noises out there, and you can educate your kids about social media. For what it's worth, my kids don't have any social media accounts in Facebook, TikTok, but they still see it. I'll be honest with you, it still comes up on YouTube. It still gets put out there. Their friends still talk about it. And so they're educated. As best as I can, I've educated them. But they can't start an account anywhere without me being there already. So that's already part of it. The one on the Instagram account, myself and their mother is on Instagram, you know. So we're already there watching what's going on and knowing what the content's about. So really it's education every single time. It's the only way. You can't stop. You can't expect some dude in Silicon Valley in the United States to look after your kids. That's what people are doing right now, though. They're handing a little laptop or an iPad or a phone to a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, and they're expecting some dude in Silicon Valley who hasn't even got kids to worry about their kids. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, sorry, giving up. But Eric Watchard, afternoon all. Good man, Eric. I was back on a lovely fresh walk in the snow, ready for the next 2 hours. Good man, Eric, that's the way to have it. I was out driving with the missus. We were pootling around the town there. One thing I do know is about electric cars, I never really mentioned it in reviews, is the MG had a bit of snow on the bonnet, and when we drove off, which we should have cleared, of course we should have cleared before we left, but we didn't. And then I realised that it's not going to get hot to clear itself. It never gets warm. So we had to stop and take it off. It was really a pain in the hole. It's to stop and wipe it off my hand because I didn't want it blown up in the windscreen or blown off the car. So, but it normally would like melt off before you'd reach the end of the driveway, you know, which is nice. M. Murphy says, afternoon Bob, you need that Toyota Hilux this morning or anything with a heater. You do, yeah. And I tell you, honest to God, driving enough electric cars right now, there's nothing more glorious in the world than getting in, switching it on, and within about 60 seconds there's warm air coming out of the thing because it uses a heat pump and it gets warm straight away, and it has heated seats and stuff. So all the cars like that. The Tesla I have, the Model 3, when I drove home the first Model 3, which is kind of surprising, the left camera didn't work on the autopilot cameras. One of the cameras on the left hand side of the car didn't work, and Tesla phoned me and said we'll come down with another car. So they came down with another car. They actually drove here to Port and dropped off, instead of a medium range one, they dropped me down a long range one, and it looked gorgeous. First time I had it, and I was driving around yesterday, and then I looked up last night, and just on the pillar that separates the whole roof, the glass is cracked. Really badly cracked, like something lid on it or pushed up against it or something, but it's all cracked on the inside. So now I'm kind of nervous driving the car, in that I don't know if that's going to smash while I'm driving along. I doubt it shouldn't, but it's still cracked, and I can't quite work out what's going on with Tesla. That's 2 cars in a row. If I was an owner, if I'd have just bought that one, I don't know if they would have just driven down in the middle of the night to replace my car, and the same will apply when I'm dropping it back tomorrow. What's going to happen with it then? But it seems weird. Tesla are improving the amount of cars they're putting out, but I'm starting to see errors even in the press cars, which is kind of strange, isn't it? Still, we're in those kind of times as well. Mark O'Reilly, a dreaded VRT. Wasn't there a VRT legal challenge before? This is the same challenge, by the way. People are texting me saying there's a brand new challenge against VRT. It's not. It's the same case. It was 25 years on the go. 25 years this court case has been going on. It's still going on. The government given a pass last time on impacted revenue. The revenue is too big on VRT to get rid of it completely. I mean, you could sign it off in a stroke of a pen, it would disappear. It's just a revenue generator. It doesn't really do it. It's not legally entitled to get it. So it's not like a massive big law change needs to happen to get rid of VRT. But whether they would even start to get rid of VRT because of the amount of money it generates. And now the amount of money it's still generating, it's gone up again now, of course. It's still going up all the time. Cars are getting more and more expensive. That has not changed. Mark O'Reilly, no chance of going out would be replaced with something called a different name, but the challenge would begin again. Would also devalue second-hand cars too much. I know, but that wouldn't be a bad thing. Being honest with you, Mark, and I know you might be in a trade or otherwise, but the only people who actually pay VRT are the end users. They're the only ones. Dealers don't pay VRT. Really, you don't. You pass that VRT rate on to someone else. So, like, to protect the consumer, VRT needs to go, because prices would go down and you would sell more cars. It's pretty straightforward. That's it. Like, if a car went from 25 grand to 20 grand because VRT disappeared, people would buy more 20 grand cars, but they won't buy a 25 grand car. It's just, and there's no 25 grand cars left. I mean, cars are just going up in price all the time. EV driving, any news on Ioniq 5? Sorry for caps, really can't wait. Not real any big news. I've seen a couple of pictures of it. It doesn't look remarkably different. As long as they improve the drivetrain from the last one, because I think the current model Ioniq is terrible. I think it's terrible to drive. I think the driver's seat is too high. You've no room to maneuver in the car. It feels quite cramped. Steering is too light. There's all kinds of problems with the drive of the car. Maybe that was corrected in generation 2 or whatever. I don't know. But if you look at my review of the Ioniq, the first words out of my mouth is the worst electric car I've ever driven. Not because of its efficiency, just because of the way it drives. I still expect a car to drive well and not be crap to drive just for the sake of efficiency. If I wanted that, I would buy a 2014 Nissan Leaf. And then you get an efficient car, reasonably efficient car that isn't great to drive, and at least to be efficient though. Whereas I don't want to be spending 30 grand or 40 grand or 50 grand on a new car and find out that it's crap to drive. And the FX7, hi Bob and gang, decent snow out there today. Hope everybody's good enough in form and keeping mind, body and active. Good lads, that's the way to be. Keep active. I hope you've all taken the advice I gave you last week, which is go out and get a walk, get a run, get a cycle in, get something done that is physical exercise outside before you go mental looking at a wall inside. Very easy to get absorbed into those big screens that are sitting in front of you right now, or your phone, or your second screening, or the Conor McGregor fight last night, or whatever it is that's keeping you in for the whole. He lost, by the way, in case you hadn't seen that. I might have just ruined your day. You might have recorded the fight and not seen it. Anyway, loss, not terribly spectacular loss, a good, decent, honest to God knockout, which is basically what happened. And I suppose that's the best thing we come out of it. Mark Turner Smith's here as well, good man. FIB, I was going to FBI, I was thinking, whoa, right, am I on a list? FIB Goldberg, hi Bob, what's your opinion on summer and winter tyres should be all made? No, I think all season tyres is all we actually need in Ireland. Summer tyres we never needed in Ireland. They're just cheap. They're cheap crap. We never get the temperatures here to require summer tyres. We never get that extreme of heat in the summer. The best you're going to get here in summer is probably 30 degrees, and that would be one day sometime in July. And you'd be lucky to get that. Most of the time we hover between 20-25 degrees in summer and under 18, 17, 16 could be summer as well. And summer tyres don't operate in that level at all. They basically give no grip when it starts to get cold. Winter tyres only operate below 7 degrees. So right now it's 5 degrees. So winter tyres are only basically just coming into their own here. You need kind of -0 to minus figures for winter tyres to be really effective. All season tyres are very effective in all weathers. And it suits us here because we're temperate climate. So we never really get too hot. We never really get too cold here. It never really goes beyond the range we have here is between a regular -1 or 1, somewhere around that level, up to about 25, and between those two levels is all season tyres. We used to sell summer tyres here all the time, and in winter, like now, where it's a bit greasy out there, you'll just drift on through every single roundabout. You'll hit the brakes and nothing much happens. That's summer tyres because they go hard in summer. They firm up. Whereas all season will manage to do pretty much everything. So there's plenty of all season tyres around. Look around, you'll find loads of different brands out there that make all season tyres. Worth looking into for sure. Larry Betts, looking forward to today's podcast. I'm actually making a podcast version of what I do on TikTok and YouTube separately from the Sunday Service. I used to do this stream as a podcast on its own, but I find more people have paid for YouTube Premium and now listen to this as a podcast anyway because they don't need it separately audio. So I'm going to make a separate podcast entirely and put that out in the near future. I'm going to get some guests on, some interesting people on, and we're going to have some chats on an audio form of a podcast about an hour long, which is what I need because I do an hour podcast so I can run for an hour. So I'm going to make sure that happens as well. That will be going on the next probably start recording the next couple of weeks once I line up enough guests. I want to do like a block of 6 and then go from there. Hellhound is in the chat. How are you, Hellhound? What's the crack, man? Graham and Grace, hi Bob. When EVs become mainstream, I envisage a plug-in suitcase size battery pack to extend journey distance. You could do. The problem is always, Raymond, is weight, and it's the weight of batteries that's actually causing the slowdown in the uptake of batteries because they're so heavy to transport and make and put into cars, and then the cars themselves can't weigh too much. Because if you buy a Tesla Model 3, which I think is just a shade under 2 tons, something around that, and you put a 750 kg trailer in the back, which you can do, you're over your license. You're cruising up to the edge of your B license. So if you actually want to put batteries into a van, then you've got the weight problem of when the van wants to be loaded up with stuff and it's over the 3.5 tons, you need a different license for it. So the real problem with EVs at the moment is not necessarily the range of the EV. You could make pretty much any EV get across the country if you're determined enough, but the problem more is people are just afraid of the uptake of them right now. The ones we have right now are actually pretty efficient. They work very well, and I've had no problems with them, apart from the Tesla one out there, which seemed to have little errors on it, alright, but everything else has been pretty easy to use. The infrastructure is not good enough. If you regularly transport yourself across the country in a regular sense, it's pretty undependable. It can be really bad in places. And then you have to sign up for different apps, and it's the confusion of all this app work, network and cards, and who am I billing to and how much does it cost. I mean, when you pull in to get an electric charge right now in a public charge point, there's no signs to say how much you're paying. None. The rest legally, you have to show the signs of how much you're charging for petrol and diesel out the front. You have to put up legally, to put up big signs to say that. But with electricity, you don't. You just put the charge point in, you decide. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I still think you should know how much you're paying. And I really want to not sign up to anyone. I want to pull up to a charge point, plug in, tap my card, use my Apple Pay, use a Revolut thing, and be billed. How hard is that like? Anyway, can't unplug till I do my thing, you know? What if the car wouldn't disconnect until I've paid? That would make life so much easier. Why is it always left up to individuals to come up with these ideas? No one thinks it's a good idea. Anyway, Mark Turner Smith says he woke up to snow in Yeovil. Thought it was going to snow today eventually. Weather always goes east here. Comes in from the Atlantic, crosses over Ireland, and then a day later we see it on BBC News. That's what happens next. It's always like a day after. Mark Arundel is here as well. Irish Foxhound says, afternoon, these bad times, stay safe. Stay safe, everyone. It's true, yeah. Keep your head down. We're nearly there. Numbers are falling. Don't worry, we'll be okay, but I think we won't get out of this lockdown until the end of February. At least another couple of weeks before we get any... I'd love to know. I wish someone in the government would come on the TV and go, listen, we're going to lock down until March. And be done with it. Just be done with it. We're locking down until March. That's the end of it. We're not going to talk about it anymore. That's it. I don't want to hear how many cases there are today. I just want to know in March we're going to be finished. That's it. At the moment, we don't know what's going to happen next month. Anyway, Octavian Martin. Hi, Bob. Is there any disadvantage of going for 1.6 TDI over 2 litre TDI in a 2016 Passat Skoda Superb? Thank you, love reviews. There advantage, disadvantage. Okay, so advantage of a TDI is it can haul more. It's more comfortable on a motorway. The engine is more comfortable. Not you are more. It's the same car, but not you are more comfortable. But the engine is happier ticking along using the 6-speed DSG in the box. If you're using that, or 6-speed or 7-speed it could be as well, but 6-speed manual, whatever it is, the 2 litre TDI will give you better fuel economy if you're doing higher speeds more often. So if you're sitting down motorways or dual carriageways regularly, 2 litre TDI. If you're not, the 1.6 TDI probably do the same fuel economy around the town. Essentially, you could buy a smaller engine, maybe in a lower tax band, which is why those 1.6 appeared. But the engine itself, they're both fairly reliable. They both had timing chain problems when they were being changed. They would change on time, and the usual diesel effort with them. But one's not better than the other. It just more depends on your use of the car rather than whether the car's better at one thing or the other. I would usually plumb for the 2 litre TDI as just a more well-rounded, more comfortable, more quiet engine. It's Bob O'Clock, says JP Delvin. How are you, Michael? Mick Mulcahy's here as well. Bob, when you go live to 5, count to 5, then start due to pre-roll ad. Oh, right, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought it just started rolling straight after the pre-roll ad. What a pain that is. I should count to 5 then. Yeah, that's true. But I do try and start as close as I can get to 2. I normally start at 5 to 2, and everyone goes, oh, damn, he started early. So I try to start dead on time. Says Donald Shotzi, bang on time. Well done for once. For once this time, yeah. Hi, Dan Whelan. JP Delvin, feels like last Sunday was only yesterday. It does. I was saying that to my missus last night at whatever. We were watching Life of Brian last night. Believe it or not, television's gone so bad. We've just taken to watching movies, and we were watching that The Boys as well, which is very violent. The Boys on Amazon, which is pretty good. It's funny, but it's very violent. And we're watching a bit of that as well. And then I sat there last night and going, it's Saturday night. Like every day is just blurring into one another. I had to set a reminder to remind myself to set up the Sunday service so it would run properly. Otherwise, it's like I forgot it was on, because I don't know. I've lost track of days and everything. Manila 19 says, hi Bob, what do you think of Merc GLB? I don't know about that one now. Let me look at that one. There's so many Mercedes. There's GLC, GLB, GL something or other as well. Images. Yes, I've had that. That's a nice car. Yeah, I've had that here. That's a nice car. Yeah, for sure. Nothing wrong with that. GLBs is the go. Just Mercedes seem to have too much in their stream though, don't they? There's an awful lot of cars. And last night I was parked in my Model 3 in Tesco's car park last night. What did I see? Came in across the way from me, a Volkswagen ID3. The first one I've seen in the wild in here in Portlaoise. Sold to Michael Moore Car Sales. Had a quick chat to the people around it. Everyone was there to see it, and then everyone seen the ID3 and then went, oh wow, what's that, an electric car? And then look across the way and it's Model 3 just sitting there, oh look, another electric car. They're becoming a little more common, I have to say. How are you, Derek Norris? How's Brian O'Donnell? Adon is here as well. Alex Rogers is saying, Bob, I was down servicing my Toyota car in the Mnace and Mark Toner took a poo in my exhaust pipe. Well, Alex, that's wonderful. You're a lovely chap, aren't you? We'll hide the user in this channel. Bye now, Alex. I can do it here as well, by the way. Aidan McLaughlin, hi Bob, what camera do you use to film inside the car? There's two that's filming. So one that faces me is a Canon DSLR that's just sitting there, and then the other one is a Sony camera. The one beside my head is called a Sony X3000. I think it's called. I think it's an X3000. That's kind of higher spec version of a GoPro. You can buy GoPro on different levels, like the black and the silver and other ones. The X3000 just comes as is, but it's mostly a Canon DSLR. Actually does most of the work. Marcus Hogan, sup Bob, my family at 77 kilowatt ID3 is supposed to be built in the next week. No idea though when it's delivered, which is of course hopefully it's February and not March. Anyone have a VW expert? I don't know, there wouldn't be any. I don't have any VW experts in the chat, but I know there is a bit of a backlog in ID3. I saw my first one yesterday in Ireland driving around the wild like. Bob, you have memory seats? No memory seats. They are electric. Well, the driver seat's electric. Passenger seats manual. They're not memory seats. Where's it going now? Bob, will servicing the MG in Ireland, like I heard Frank Keane is distributing, and what about second-hand values? Yeah, well, electric cars are holding their value very, very well, and the reason behind that is because there's a high demand for second-hand value. Okay, so people don't necessarily want to buy into a brand new one, but they certainly want to buy in something that will get them started off. And MG now and Renault will be the two that I would be looking at as being the ones that are giving the best sort of value at the moment. Like the Zoe is really good value. I think it's really good value for what you get, particularly because the Zoe is able to charge at 22 kilowatts from a 22 kilowatt charger. Very few of them do that. Most of them charge at 3.5 or 7.5 or 12.5, and that's about as far as you're going to get. So which means you won't necessarily need to use any fast chargers with a Renault Zoe. That's the cheat at the moment. There'll be another cheat along later on. But servicing the cars will be the same as servicing a normal car. I'll get mine done in Eco Cars, but if you're buying a new MG, you get it done in Frank Keane dealerships, which he's the distributor of the brand new ones. Now follows me on Instagram as well, which is good. But it'll be cool. It'll be fine for servicing. I'd never worry about servicing any of these cars because they don't need a lot of servicing. They just need normal things. Like you actually use less brake pads. I find myself using level 3 regen braking on it all the time, so you just lift off your foot and it more or less brakes for you. The brake lights do come on when you do that. Foxhound says, lick the stickiness off, Bob, not due to COVID. I know, yeah, look, it's there. I can still see it on the front. Still, I can feel it, and I keep doing that. Oliver Crow says the new VAT change with Brexit have finished the buying of cars in the UK. Correctamundo came in rather sneakily as well, Oliver Crow. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that it's kind of sneaky the way it happened, because they just lumped on 10% on top of an import from anywhere on the other island. I don't mean anywhere in Great Britain, because Northern Ireland is excluded from that, but anywhere on the British Isle part, the other isle is now gone up by 10%, which means that's going to be passed on to you. So your used cars are going up by 10%. Unless you buy it for the first time, if it's registered up the north, you can import it into Ireland without the 10% on it. But we're still looking at everything going up. It just goes up. It's like somehow we don't like cars. I don't know why. Automotive L3 Martin says, hi Bob gang, looking forward to MG update. MG is doing really well. I'm really happy with MG. I have to say, even my wife is as well. She'll be driving around this morning. She's very happy. It feels like a good solid driving car. It's not the best handlers, most of them aren't though. There is some bits and pieces that are missing. I'm going to do a review of it next week properly for the YouTube, but there is some bits and pieces, like you can't plug it in, as far as I can see so far. I've only plugged it in once, but you can't plug it in and then time it to be warm the next morning. You know that thing you can do? You can set some timers and it turns the heaters on and stuff for the next morning. I don't see that in it yet, but maybe I haven't sit down with it plugged in. Maybe that menu only appears when you plug it in. So I'll have a route around at that. CVC, hey Bob, I'm looking for a cheap runaround as a second car. What would you recommend? Max 4K budget as reliable if any. I was rooting this morning for 4K budget as well, because they were the third or fourth person this morning who was looking at me for 4K budget, and there really isn't much. Unfortunately, our TikTok channel has absorbed an awful lot of the cars I would have recommended before that would have been sitting there doing nothing, like a Kia Picanto or a Hyundai i10 or Say It Me or Skoda Citigo, even like Kia Rios and things. They're all starting to disappear as people are buying up those used cars, and there's less used cars coming into the country. But they're the kind of list I tend to look at. That and the kind of Toyota Auris, which are also pretty reliable. You'll get 1.4 litre Golfs and stuff in there too. They tend to be a little bit pricier though. They tend to be over that $4,000 budget. Noel Cal, hi Bob, are MG going to sell petrol cars in Ireland? No, I don't think so. I think MG is going to be electric or PHEV, which is a petrol, but I don't think they're going to go standard back to normal kind of MG product lineup that they would have had before, which would have been terrible. In fairness, MGs used to be good, then Rover bought them, or someone, GM bought them, or somebody bought them and destroyed them. And that's what eventually MG just broke itself up into pieces. And that's how I think a company called SIAC bought them in China, and they've sat on that name for a long time, and now they're bringing out these electric cars, which is pretty good. Larry Betts, I don't know who you are. I'm just going to hide you on the channel. Get rid of you. Don't know who you are. Kevin DeBoo, hi Bob, thinking of upgrading my Lexus ES. Just wondering if you know anything about the difference in spec on them. Is it worth F Sports? If memory serves, the F Sport one had 4-wheel steering, or am I gone mad? Was that not in Ireland for a while? The one with the 4-wheel steering, you could do little adjustments on the steering wheel. The Lexus Lexus has a good range at the moment. It really has. They're coming back pretty strong. This is torpedoed. The whole system is torpedoed in all of those brands of cars with the COVID lockdown, but it's certainly a brand that's coming back up. I do like Lexus ES, the ES Sports, and I do like the latest version of Lexus. Some of them are on the channel there as well if you look at them. I particularly like, there's a the last one they had that I test drove was in Barcelona that I can't remember the name of now. I forget the Lexus names. It's terrible, isn't it? Should remember them all. MG or Zoe for city driving to go for. Do you know what? They're basically the same range, basically the same plug-in system. The Zoe's smaller. The MG is quite big. I mean, it's got a big boot, big back seat. You can fit 5 people in it. So it's a bit of a bigger car entirely. But my own thinking right now is the MG. I kind of like that MG. I kind of like driving around it. I wouldn't, the Zoe's a good little transport thing if you like driving around cities, and that's all you want to do is drive from home to work and back again. You don't necessarily want to be excited about what you got. But the advantage of the Zoe is that on a 22 kilowatt charger, it charges at 22 kilowatts. So it actually charges at normal speeds. And that may mean you don't need a fast charger at all. You could actually charge the battery in a couple of hours at 22 kilowatts, full from empty. So whereas most of the other cars, including the MG, charge at 7.5 max at those charge points. James Gillespie, my 06 Corolla needs new brake calipers and power steering mechanisms also gone, but it costs about £1,000. Is the worst fix in NCT Junior next month? From a financial perspective, no. You're probably not going to make I mean, if you put £1,000 into that, you're going to make £2,000 back out of the car when you go to sell it. I don't think so. Not for an 06, you're not. It's in the old tax band as well. Could you do it for less than £1,000? Yes, you probably could. It's power steering, it's the pump probably, and the brake calipers and stuff. You know, there's a bit of work in that. I would probably scrap that just because €1,000, unless you're going to sell it to a mechanic, maybe who'll do it for next to nothing, essentially. But really, how much life is left in it, James? You know, it's time to upgrade, I think. Mark Howells Prescott, good afternoon, Bob. Hope you're well. I am so far. Would you buy a new car without a test drive looking at the MG5 EV? I have one EV already, looking at the other half kind of regards. I would. These days I would, to be honest with you, because so many of these EV cars essentially drive the same. And once you're in a brand, which I was quite surprised by the quality of the MG. I was quite surprised. For the price of the cars, I was very surprised by the quality finish of the interior. Now, it's not the best quality finish, but if you look around at that price point in the same sort of range, you don't get cars that quality. You just don't get seats that are that comfy and steering wheels that are that nice to hold, and it's just a very quality interior. Some of the software is a bit old-fashioned, but I don't really mind that, because it has knobs and dials and it works very well. So I would, and many people are choosing right now to not go to dealerships to buy cars. They're ordering directly from Tesla. They're ordering directly from Volkswagen themselves, and having the cars delivered to home. They never see the inside of a dealership, which is going to be weird for the future. I really think it's going to become the normal way to buy a car. Look at Car Wow and all the Matt Watson's gig and all. They do basically the same thing. Buy it more or less online, and it's working. A lot of people are doing it right now. It's going to spread over to here eventually. Dynamic Frame, afternoon Bob from Cole, Scotland. I bet Scotland is cold. Watch an interesting video about the history of Range Rover. Do you remember the original Range Rovers? They were noteworthy at the time, being revolutionary. They were, yeah. They were very unusual. Kind of came about from tanks and stuff. From like the Defender came about from having a tank, which I did in a little video of my own about the Defender. But the Range Rovers came around for the same principle, the same idea, revolutionary Range Rovers. You know, it was used in their taglines. It's an interesting history. Most car companies are run by guys who really wanted to transport the world and seen an opportunity to build something that was going to be good. A lot of a lot of people who run car companies now are it's kind of run from an accounts department or the marketing department effort, you know. So they're not really car people like us, like this kind of nut brain thing that can't get cars out of our head. Nemo Cotter, Bob tossing 205 Megane convertible, going to leak. It's not a bad car. It's a bit weird looking. There was a few of them around the time. Ford did the same. Ford had a Focus convertible as well. Megane did the Renault Megane. Peugeot had the 307 or 308 or something was a convertible as well. They all look a little bit odd. And being honest with you, all of those convertibles leak. They all get leaky over time because of moving. Things moving means they let the elastics and stuff all get expanded out and you get leaks in it. But they're not a bad car. During the summertime in this country or in the UK, there's nothing like having a convertible, to be honest with you. We sell more of them here than we do in Spain because you just get sunburned in Spain. Simpkins Timothy Simpkins even. Hi Bob, what you about MG? Is there an MG5 EV, the first electric estate car here in the UK? I did see that one. I wouldn't be keen on the look of that, if I'm honest. It does look a little bit odd, doesn't it? The other MG, as I call it. I can show you a picture of it. Hold on a second. The window. No, wait a second. I have to change that over there. Window capture has to change to. Not that. Hold on a second. Talk much is out there. Is that the one? That's the one. Okay, here we go. That's the other MG. And I wouldn't be terribly keen. There's the Auto Express one. So you can see it there. I wouldn't, it's not, doesn't light my fire now, I have to say. The look of that car, there's a kind of a concepty Mercedes, you know, thrown together one from that's a render now. Don't go mad on that one. It's not going to happen, I don't think. That's from Facebook, like. But even the side profile from Clean Technica here is a little bit awkward, I feel. Just a little bit awkward. That's kind of what happens with when you let I suppose Asian designers, which aren't the best designers anymore because they design for a different market entirely. We have certain tastes in this country that we like things, and I don't think that's one that actually suits the country here. But we'd probably be better off with like the MG. The one I'm driving, the ZS, is much nicer. It's just a prettier looking car. It looks like a normal car, normal sort of Qashqai kind of mixed with a Mercedes or mixed with a Mazda or something. Johnny McCrink. I'm at 209. I will catch up on this. Don't worry about it. I will get to your questions along the way. Hi Bob from the north. My girlfriend lives over the border in the south, looking to get her car insured. My car will find it difficult. Any advice? You mean get a cross border insurance? I don't know of any. I've seen a couple of guys mention it before, but I don't know of any cross border insurance crowds that will insure somebody on one side of our border and the other side of the other border for different cars and things. You'd probably have some hope in the UK, because they're quite flexible on their insurance systems over there, but we're not flexible here at all. They don't want to know. If you're going to leave the country here, you have to tell them. Like if you're going to drive up the north, you're supposed to tell your insurance company. It's wild. We can be quite severe on those sort of things, but I don't know of any particular insurance company able to help you out there. Adrian Nelson, greetings from Melton Mowbray under the snow. Well, that's a good place to be. You could be worse. You have to pull out a pork pie or something. Tobor, hi Bob. Are your thoughts on F10 520D M Sport? They're a lovely car, but in fairness, as lovely as they are, they're expensive enough to service. But besides that, there's just a lot of them. That's the problem I have now currently with BMW 3 and 5 Series, is you have to find ones that are very different from other ones, because the F10 is gorgeous, but I guarantee when you pull into Tesco's car park, you're going to be parking beside one. There's so many of them on the road now, it's hard to look a little bit different. If you want something that stands out, but they will give you a good experience, a good car. They're fine, they're reliable. Make sure the time and chain is done on that as well, because they did give problems. There was a recall on them actually because they broke. So make sure that's been done. Mark Turner Smith, Bob, Mark 3 said Leon, at which point I'd become a Mark 7, 7.5 Golf platform was only ever modified. Golf Mark 6 platform, it's a whole lifespan. Yes, Mark 7 Golf is my favourite Golf of all time. To drive, to own, to have. I think it was a great car. Just a brilliant car. The Mark 2 Leon is the car I actually own. Mark 3 Leon is where they started on the MQB platform, which ended up being MQB. Well, that was Passat. It was everything. It was all kinds of cars. It's like a floating chassis. Most people think of girder chassis, which is two straight lines and two straight lines going across with axles on them. Chassis aren't like that anymore. They're not even connected up anymore. The front part of the chassis is not connected to the back, and it's very complicated sort of floating thing connected by the roof and the body and all. It's very weird now. It's not what you think of chassis anymore. Killian Neal, Hi Bob, I'm having an awful time trying to bring a used EV from Northern Ireland, 2014 Zoe original car. Revenue are very vague. Don't know why to be vague. They've imported millions of Zoes, and the customs declaration isn't clear either. Can anyone shed some light? The Zoe's been imported millions of times. I don't know why they'd have a problem in revenue with Zoe, other than, I mean, there's only one Zoe as well. I mean, there's a couple of spec changes, but the battery stuff, it's all the same in all the Zoes, so there shouldn't be a problem with that. Revenue VRT side should be able to handle that one. I'm sure it'll be on it at some point. Maybe someone in the chat will be able to help Killian out there on his Renault Zoe importing. Oliver Crow says, great car, had one but overly firm. I don't know what that is. Well, Bob, what's the crack? How are you, Stevie lad? John McGarvey, hi Bob, hope you have a nice snowy weather. No, it's gone now, doesn't exist anymore. Like we have here in Donegal, great weather for Quattro. Did you ever review the Audi Q5 TFSI E? Not the E1, no. It's a 2-litre petrol small hybrid. No, I've never reviewed the E1. I don't know if they actually put one on even. We had Q5s and stuff over the years, but not a hybrid version of it. I prefer frost than snow. I could put up with a heavy frost and blue sky all day. I hate this grey weather. It just drives me nuts. That's where I start to fall apart. Graham Harron is a subscriber on channel memberships, which you can do as well. Thanks very much, Graham. Good afternoon, Bob. It's the same with all listeners today. Any recommendation on a courier for shipping used set of alloy wheels within the county Mayo to Donegal? Whoa! No, I've never shipped alloy wheels because they're so heavy, and a lot of couriers won't take them because they're odd shaped as well. Although you can wrap them in cling film, wrap them together, cardboard between them. That's how they used to come from the factory. I used to work in Newbridge Auto Parts where we used to order in alloys for people, and they'd come stacked on top of one another, but they'd come on a pallet because they're so heavy. They're really, really heavy. You would have to really put them on a pallet and get them shipped properly because it's just weigh a ton. Most couriers won't touch that. But you could ask, I'm sure somebody in the chat will know. Michael Klutz, Bob, I'm going to pre-order Skoda Enyaq. Is that not sold out? I expect that EV technology will explode, no pun intended, in the next 2-3 years. You go Enyaq 3-year lease, MG ZS 2-year lease. Currently, the value one, the MG ZS on a 2-year lease, because in 2 years' time there's going to be an awful lot more electric cars to choose from, will be a good purchase because it's going to be very reasonable to lease that. The Enyaq has a waiting list, as far as I know. Well, it might be sold out or has a stock allocation already done. So you're going to end up, Enyaq is going to be a better car to drive, I bet you, and it's going to have nicer technology and it'll probably be a nicer car generally to own as well. But for lease prices, if you're looking for a lease price, I'd look at that MG ZS very carefully because that's going to be very hard to beat for the next 2 years. You know, you're not going to get better range or something in something else without paying a lot more money for it. So I probably would. Hi Bob, do you think the used market of petrol and diesel cars will go up once the ban has been applied in 2030? No. Yes and no to some degree. There will always be people who will hold out, who will not transfer over to new cars. There's people out there right now driving cars from the 80s and the 90s, even back to the 70s, who will refuse to come up to the modern sort of fuel injected TFSI type engines and don't want to know anything about it. So you'll always get those holdouts. But I do think that we're going to get to a point where people will go, I just want a car that I only have to poodle around the town in. And they don't care if it's petrol, diesel or electric. It doesn't really matter. And I think Audi's actually shedding a light on that with their spec systems, where they go 5.0 on the back or 4.0. You know, those numbers on the back that don't mean it's electric. It could be PHEV, it could be electric, it could be anything. It's just a spec. You're just deciding the horsepower rather than deciding what kind of fuel you want to buy. I think that's kind of be more where people will go in 2030. The ban, I'm not sure that ban is going to go ahead the way people think it'll go ahead, but I think to some degree they will ban the straight turbo diesel, the straight petrol or turbo petrol. They will ban those. I don't think they're going to ban PHEVs or semi-electric cars or hybrids or whatever name you want to put on them. I don't think those kind of ones will be banned just yet. But I think a lot's going to happen between now, 2021 and 2030. It's only 9 years, but I can see it already, as Audi I think announced this morning they're not going to make any more ICE engines. Kia and Hyundai have already said this. So a lot of them are already on that track. They're starting out that way. Now they're making announcements in Europe, but it doesn't mean that they're not making commercial diesels. And they're not putting out those diesels in other territories, but they're just announcing it here to say we're not going to do any more diesel and petrol. So it is kind of coming in by a back door, by the government saying this and then car companies saying that, but also because people like us car heads are going, yeah, it's okay, I can have an electric car as a second car if I can just hold on to my nice little Mazda MX-5 out there, or my, Jaguar E-Type or whatever it is, as long as I can do that as well. So I don't think the fuel is going anywhere. Colin Whelan, thank you very much for dropping in and donating by Super Chat. Very kind of you. Looking forward to the review of the MG. I will be reviewing it for next week. So next week the Toyota Yaris review will be out, the Model 3 review will be out, and that MG probably next week as well. I just wanted to get to know it intimately beyond a week. Normally 2 or 3 days in the car will do, but actually sometimes you want to spend a bit of time. Like, there's things that I've already found that really annoy me about the design. The way the panel opens on the front for plugging in, just that's not right. That should be sorted out. But it's waterproof, so that it's pointing downwards, so you can't get water into it. But it's in a weird place, very hard to get at. But we put that into the review for next week. But where was I? Oh, the ban on petrol and diesel cars. Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to go ahead the way people think it is, but it will go ahead. There will be some form of a ban. They're still sorting it out. They've got 9 years, of course. We'll have an entirely different government in this and the UK by the time that comes in. So it's we'll see what they say. Sean Fallon, hi Bob, just wondering, do you know what the new rules are for bringing a car into UK? Do you still only pay VRT? No, there's extra duties. So Sean, if it's buy it up the north, you don't pay any extra duties. It's still basically the same, although there are now carbon taxes and things, which is kind of driven the price up of importing. But when it comes in from the UK, so it comes in from the other island, you have to pay 10% extra. So there's a 10% excise duty going on to imports in the country, which is driving all the prices of all the things up by 10%. Thanks Leonard Connolly for becoming an apprentice mechanic in our membership levels. That gives you direct access to me, by the way. Not that everybody doesn't have direct access, but that gives you direct access to me. So there's a question I actually answer. On the Patreon, you can actually direct messages as well. I'm not sure you can do it so well on the members thing. It's harder to do. YouTube make it quite difficult to find things like posting things or just making an ordinary sort of post. You can also do it on Instagram if you want. Jim Shed says CEO released the bestsellers for 2020. Interesting to see that Corolla at the top and the Tiguan beats the Tucson in the second spot, and the Tesla Model 3 was selling fully electric car. That's true. Tesla Model 3 a couple of months ago was the top selling car in Ireland. When I say selling, probably the top delivered car more than actual sales wise, but they claim the top sales part. It's cool to see electric cars enter into the top 10 in places, depending on the month of course, and deliveries and things. I think that'll settle down, and I really think one or the other. I think this idea of whether you have to go electric or you have to go petrol, that needs to kind of end, and you need to have that. We all need to settle into a rhythm now of what we're going to do next, as to what the next fuel source is going to be, what we're actually going to settle on, whether we're going to stop talking about hydrogen and any other wind up cars or solar panel yokes, and just get on with what we've got and make it happen, because if we continue to fight amongst ourselves or continue to find out who has the best information or the most way we can put things, it's actually for nothing. You're not getting anywhere. Dynamic Frame, thank you very much for the super chat. Very kind of you to drop in here. All the super chats are happening today. It's good for you. Oh, good God, there's a lot of you in the chat today. Jesus, 334 is here already. You're mad to be here already. This is deadly though to have you all. Brilliant. Tabor, you need to figure out the answer to that name. Oliver Crow, it's irrelevant, Bob. VAT has destroyed the second-hand car market in the UK for us, surely. It has, certainly, yeah. VAT is going to do it as well. So VAT's 21%. They wanted to put up to 23% at one point, which is, well, insane. Put them back up again. I really think, lads, the biggest problem you have is that the used car guys are not rattling the sword at all. That the dealership guys are going to eventually just run aground, and I think there's going to be a point where everyone is going to have to make a big decision as to whether they want to be in business or not, because car sales are falling. Look back further than 5 years and you'll see that car sales have continually actually fallen every year, not gained. Even though the SAMI throw the thing going, the car sales are going up now, but actually you look at it across 10 years, it hasn't recovered much. Really hasn't recovered a whole lot. We're nowhere near where we used to be when we had all the dealerships. And now we have a crowd of new dealerships that are coming to the country that are selling UK imports at hand over fist. They're flying them out. And now they have to pay more. They're going to go out of business. They won't be able to afford them. People won't be able to afford a used car. Where's the 10 grand car gone? Where's the 15 grand car gone? They're all starting to go up in a big way. But you look at 4, 5, 6 grand on Done Deal now, on Car Zone, any of those places, and it's very, very hard to find anything even remotely clean. And if you find it, it's probably something odd, some kind of Fiat Panda thing or something. It's not a traditional sort of Japanese car. So it's getting weird. Second-hand car market is going to become really, really strange here, and I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot slowly but surely by not complaining about it. We think it's out of our hands, but that 10% yoke, the VAT going on top of it, that's not out of our hands. We could easily do something about that. We just all got to get together. Liam O'Cotter says, if you saw a Range Rover, what would you instantly stereotype job like? I wouldn't really. I just like Range Rovers. I tend not to do that. Sometimes you look at a car and you go, well, obviously that person does something illegal for a living, and other ones you look at them and go, well, they obviously struggle. I found when you go overseas, you find some raggedy ass guy getting out of a Ferrari, you know, and he's wearing a t-shirt with holes in it and stuff. And other times you'll see the most stylish woman on earth, looks like she's $1 million, getting out of it like a 91 Clio. Because different countries do different things. We put a lot of stock on brands here. We put a lot of stock on buying Zanussi over Biko or something, you know. Whereas in other countries they don't care less. They just, the thing is there for transport. So I don't tend to look at Range Rover drivers and go, I tend to look at them and go, he's got plenty of money. But then you look at a Land Cruiser driver and go, he's got more money, because a Land Cruiser Amazon's more expensive than a Range Rover Vogue when you look at the two of them together. Tesla Model 3 is mad money. It's not really, Colin, to be honest with you. I'll tell you what, I'll give you an example. Tesla. We go to Tesla website and I will show you what I'm talking about. So we just go Model 3 and we'll do a custom order for it because we don't want existing inventory. See what I'm doing here? So here we are, standard range plus 47,990, right? So long range, the one I actually have outside the door, 57,990 is that one. I have a different set of wheels on it, but that's essentially it. So there's my range, 580 kilometers. I haven't charged the Tesla up since I got it, by the way. And then the performance 640. But if you just go for standard range, the standard range is 448 kilometers WLTP. That will get you anywhere you want to go in the country, anywhere. 448 kilometers is way more than you need in this country to go anywhere really out of the way. Now if I go to Volkswagen.ie, hopefully they have the ID3 on their website, prices of it, I mean, menu, electric cars, ID3, maybe the price is here. I hope the price is here. It's not, you can't do anything with it, you know. Request a quote. I don't want the building price. Aha, hold on now, we found one. Building price. Much less clear there, isn't it? Okay, so if I flick over to that, look at the price difference. ID3 Life, 37,000. Is that time already? Lemon and ginger tea. My wife is looking at me today. She's looking at, oh man, smell of that lemon and ginger tea. We'll flick over that in a second. Anyway, ID3 Life, 37,157. ID3 Business, 40 grand. And if you look over the Model 3, 47 grand. 42 grand for the family version of it. And then if you start rooting down through the list, I'm sure you'll find different price. Base price is 39,000 and RRP 37,000. And your road tax. So the Tesla is more expensive, but you tend to get more in the Tesla off the mark. So you'll find that they're not far off the same price when you compare stock like for like. I would at the moment think that the ID3 is the best competition towards Tesla Model 3 at the moment. ID3, when I tested it, was very good. I've had a little look into one with the software update and now it looks brilliant. But the price of all cars has gone up, not just electric cars. So they're all heading up in the wrong way for sure. Ross Gregory, how about what's your opinion on the current line of SsangYong cars, the Corando? SsangYong are doing good things now. They came back strong. They were doing okay. And the Corando was their strong point as well. The problem for SsangYong is they don't have much of a network and they don't have much people doing the job here for parts or servicing, and there's lots of stuff that needs to be done to bring them along. And at the moment, like MG is doing such a good, MG being another Chinese company doing so, I know they're North or South Korean SsangYong, but MG is doing such good things in that same space. It'd be kind of difficult to justify a SsangYong Corando, but I do like the look of them. I think they're really nice. SsangYong SsangYong. It's hard to type the SsangYong name. We cut over here. There's the Corando doing its thing. Very similar look to the MG as well, as you can see the front of it there. They do come in petrol and diesel and stuff as well. The vehicles there, Musso, my God, what a bad name that had. Musso was a very bad name for a car. Because it still has a bad name. So that's what it looks like there, Corando. It's not a bad looking yoke, is it? I think it looks okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Looks wise, we'd have to drive it to see what it is. They tend to do pretty good interiors as well. When they came back the first time, I thought they were doing pretty good actually, SsangYong. I don't know why they haven't picked up in sales wise. Harder and harder to get dealerships to take you seriously these days. I think that's more the problem than anything. Dynamic frame. Road tax in the UK changed a few years ago. You pay tax based on CO2 at the point it's registered. After it's 150 quid petrol, diesel, £140 for alternate vehicles. Keep it simple, but it applies to electric cars. That's crazy. It is kind of simple compared to what we pay, but it's simple enough, yeah. It's almost a decade since I went for a run. I don't miss running. I do miss cycling and proper hiking. Andy McAfee. You should do a walk. Walking and cycling are almost zero impact on your joints. Particularly cycling. My problem with cycling is I can't go out and just cycle 10k. I can't. I have to go 50k or my body just doesn't even heat up. I don't know why. I cycled since I was very young. Cycled all the way through my teenage years and cycled very long distances. So I think that's something to do with it. I have very thick leg muscles and can cycle very far. But it's terrible. I wish I could just go for a short cycle to get the energy out of it. Have you a snowman built? No, I didn't know. There's no time to build a snowman. There was young people out last night building snowmen for sure, right? Because I've seen them all over the place this morning. Eric Watcher, we were chatting to each other on a chat, then just stick an at in front of the name. Yeah, you can. You can just go at whoever you want to talk to, and I won't read it out. Adam Crowley, hi King Bob. Are Angel Eye headlights illegal here in Ireland? They are, as long as you have normal headlights. So the BMW Angel Eye was like a if you're turning on your lights, you got the first click which turns on your side lights, then your second click which turns on your headlights. The first click on the side lights you can use Angel Eyes on, and they're perfectly legal, yeah. But if you turn them on as headlights, that doesn't work. That's not legal. They still have to pass NCTs at them. So it's more about the NCT than the legality of the light at the front. Once it's white at the front, it's okay. If a vehicle is over 40,000, you pay more tax for the first 5 years. This is a UK tax. Really? Didn't know that. That's a new one on me. Jim Shed, VW ID3 only released in September-ish and still managed to sell 348 last year. The car is going to be a huge seller. It will. And I do like it. I have to say, VW ID3 will probably be one of my favourite looking cars of the Volkswagen range at the moment. And I don't know why. I can't quite work out why. Because it looks a bit like a truck when you're standing beside it. It's very big when you're standing beside the car. Actually, there's a picture of a woman standing beside. They're about to plug it in. Look at her just doing a little plug-in thing. And look, she looks tiny beside the size of the car. Looks huge. It is a big car. But I do think the ID3 is one of the prettier cars on the market right now. Very unique looking. And if I was buying something, like if I was looking to change over to electric right now, I would certainly look at what Volkswagen are doing, because they are going to be, if truth be told, the way they're trying to push it right now, I think it's going to be one of the hardest slogs they're going to ever have, but they will be fully electric inside of a couple of years, without a doubt. My wife made me ginger and lemon tea because she knows my voice hurt me. Not because of COVID, I don't have COVID, just from talking. Peter Ucard is here as well. Hi Bob, couldn't agree more with all season tires. Fantastic. Of Michelin cross clips. See, Michelin cross ply, cross trip, or what do we call them? Cross ones. They're all pretty good. Michelin, Continental. They all make a decent go of having some sort of all-rounder tire. That's what we need in the UK and Ireland. Maybe not so much down towards the south of the UK, down towards Kent, where you're near to the top of France. You're closer to France than you are to Wales. You know, so down that way it might be a bit warmer down there, but basically all season tires throughout the island of Ireland, and certainly most of the island of the UK, and probably everywhere across kind of northern France up towards Holland and all. They could all do cross climate ones as well, rather than this kind of summer winter tire. It's only when you get up towards Poland or that kind of far north that you need winter tires. That's where it comes. Once the temperature drops down to maybe 4-3 degrees, it stays there throughout the whole winter in that kind of area. Eric Rochford, you hit that like button, that's good. Yeah, Peugeot obsessed, what a name. What about this VRT needs to be gone, at least a lot cheaper than it is. It needs to go. It just needs to go. That's essentially it. We could be much more competitive across Europe and with the UK, and we wouldn't need excise duties and everything else on top of the thing if we got rid of VRT. And I know it's a big stop. I know we gotta replace the tax and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't matter. We need to do something with it, because if we keep just running away with this VRT thing, all that's going to happen is we will stop buying cars. We will find other means of transport and we'll stop doing it. And then the car sales start to fall and it will continue to fall, and that'll be the end of it. It'll just all fall away and we'll have no money. Hitster says, a mate said he thought of nothing running of 10k out of work. I told him to think about much. I don't think much about that either. Yeah. Lots of people are like that. I know there's a friend of mine who would literally go out on a Sunday morning and he'd run a marathon just because he runs marathons all the time. So he'll go out and just trot along for a marathon. That's his long run for the week. But during the week he'll run a half marathon or like a 16-mile jog just for buns, just because he feels like doing it. Running is a weird thing for some people. I couldn't do that. I'd have to build up to that. Thoughts on an Audi S4 if you had a spin? What year are we talking about, Liam Cotter? They're a great car. S cars are really good. They're like semi-fast. They're not RS fast. They're like this kind of semi-version of fast. But S1s tend to be not real quattros. They tend to be Haldex clutches in them. So they're not proper quattros. My God, that's lovely. I never thought ginger and lemon tea was like that. But she does this. I don't know if you guys do this. It's not a tea bag. It's one of these things. Can you see that on the screen? It's a metal thing. And you put real ginger into that, and it's like a tea strainer thing. Then it just sits in your cup, and you hang it on the side and keep it in there, and it gets stronger and stronger as you go down through the cup. It was really good. Paul O'Connor, sorry I'm late. What I missed is your story challenge VRT. There is, which is a court case been going on for 25 years, is the challenge on VRT again. We're going to keep doing that. It'll keep coming up. Hi, can I change 2 tires with normal tires while keeping the other 2 run flat? I wouldn't, but you can. You can if you want to, but that's like mixing the old version of mixing cross ply and ply tires and all these kind of things on cars. You shouldn't really mix them out, but you can. Run flat tires are a little bit more firm. They don't give us quite as much grip as the other tires, so don't mix them on the same axle. So don't put a run flat on the back and one in the front. Put them on the same axle at the same time. JP Delvin, good example of bigger engines being more efficient. Big German diesel like A6s for 3 litres be more efficient in motorway than 2. Correct. The best fuel economy I've ever gotten from a car was a Nissan 370Z, 3.7 litre petrol engine. At 120 kilometers an hour, it was doing 1100 RPM, 1.9 litres per 100 kilometers or something. Just wafting along. Just such a big engine. It's just that was easy. I was slow for it, so just no effort at all in it. Big engines can maintain their speed for much longer as well, so they just feel nicer when you're driving along. They don't feel so stressed. Like when you get into a hybrid or something, and even though it's 1.8, it's sitting there at 3000 RPM constantly. It's really hard, you know. It's hard on your fuel. Annie McPhee, when we get to see the MG ZS EV, what is the overall plan for year reviews? Okay, so the idea was we're going to not just review a car every month or something. What I'm looking at is the use, the costs, the charges, the difficulties we come up against, the kind of settling into a life of EV rather than a life of petrol and diesel being replaced by EV, more like the life of it. So the two, it's me driving it, but it's also my wife driving it. So her perspective on driving an electric car, maybe from a female perspective, she find it difficult. Like I find when we have a 150 kilowatt charger here in Portlaoise Plaza. One of the faster chargers in the country for sure. But I find the cable of that thing weighs a ton. Like it's very heavy when you're picking it up and stretching and pushing it into certain, well, particularly the MG one, which is kind of hard to get the connection into. But when you're lifting it up and dragging it around, it's quite a heavy thing. Maybe from her perspective that would make sense. But also we're going to look at the cost of charging at home. We're going to assess what would be the best electric tariff to get. Would a night meter work? So I'm going to get Des Mulhare involved in this as well. So he's the electrician guy. He's going to come in and talk about the chargers in here as well and see what he thinks of. Is there a tariff we could go to that's going to save us a lot of money? And at the end of the year, because we know last year how much the lay-on cost us to run, that includes tax, insurance, petrol and service costs, even tyres. We know the price of that because I'm fanatical about those sort of things. So we know the price of that. So over the 12 months, we're going to run the MG running exactly the same as our family car. And we're going to look at the cost and how much it saves and how long it's going to take to get that money back over all years. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be a weird year, but we're going to see how that works out. It may work or not. What's next? So that's going to be the whole year of that, and we're going to do a proper review update video every single month as we come up against questions or difficulties. I'm also going to ask ESB Electric to come on and talk about their systems and we'll have different videos over the year about getting yourself into the idea of what it's like to be an electric car. And I'll go and talk to people like Volkswagen or MG or those people are on the edge as well. They're trying to sell cars into that and trying to sell charge points for home and all that kind of stuff. That the questions that you have that come up along the way, particularly. Afternoon, Bob. Loving the snow we got here in North London, just from everywhere. Marcus Hogan, just noticed, Bob, you're the same chair, presumably IKEA. It is IKEA, yeah, mine's green. Remember a lot of 70s rally car, Ford Escort. Yeah, they do. They have this kind of, I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Right? Let's just see, because I'm not looking at the screen anywhere. Yeah, you can. See that mesh back on it, that thing. I wouldn't get that again. In the wintertime here, not so bad in this room, but if there's any kind of draft in a room, it comes right in through that thing at the back and just makes your back freezing cold. I'm happy not to be looking at me. I'm looking at the chat in front of my face. I can't see what my face looks like. Thank God for that. Sean Leahy, hi Bob. On the online VRT calculator, it's not taking new charges into account. Be careful when you're budgeting, guys. It doesn't until I believe, I haven't done it, but someone was saying it the other night, until you get to the very final step. Once you're on the very final step, it actually does come up with the new 10% and VAT and all that stuff drops in. It just tells you what VRT is up front, and then it stops at that. It doesn't tell you about the rest of the charges, but it will be there. I also seen someone else said the other night that they imported a car in January, brought it to the VRT centre, they didn't charge them 10%. So it happens in the VRT centre too. I mean, the NCT centre. Robert Ruttle, hi Bob, loving your videos, thanks. I got a black 2010 Honda CRZ. That's an odd car, but really good. On December the 31st, loving it so far. Understanding the car seems to be very rare. It is very rare, very low sales in CRZ. Not a bad yacht to drive actually, a bit sharp, but nice thing to drive. Honda did a good job on those cars, but it's the shape of it. People either like it or don't like it. So either you enjoy the car or you don't enjoy it. So it's very hard to find a point where people will go, here's a lot of those cars in a row, because everybody likes them. Not everybody likes the CRZ, but I actually kind of like the look of the things. Cliff Visit. Michael says GLB is great for 7-seater in premium range. That is GLE. Yeah, I find it hard to figure out which ones. I have to look at the Mercedes range to get them. I don't like these letters. It's very hard to get a grip of what we're looking at. Noah Thomas says, hi Bob, would you go for a Golf Mark 7 TDI or TSI? I heard the diesels are more reliable. They're both about the same reliability wise. It'd be more down to range. If you want to drive a very, very long way, Noah, it's diesel. It's really, if it has to be diesel or petrol is not going to give you the same fuel efficiency on motorways at higher speeds. Go with the diesel for the motorways. But around the town, I'd go with a petrol. Actually, around the town, I'd go with a DSG petrol and be done with it, because I hate changing gears in the town all the time. Drive me mad. Liam Cotter, my watch just reminded me to move. I can't. You not know I'm live. Like, God, you need to watch it now. Liam Cotter, yeah, to be honest, Bob, I saw GLB the other day. I had a look at twice. I saw the B. I didn't know. That's the thing. It's hard to know which one's which these days. I think Mercedes might have made a mistake. They're releasing so many different models and not really disassociating each one from each one. They're very easy to mix them all up. Richard McCarthy, how about trying to decide between a 2018 Skoda Octavia or take the plunge and go electric rather than ID3 or Kia Niro? I know it costs more, but thinking long term, 8 years. If you're going to hold on to the car for 8 years, I would go electric. I'm telling you now, because if you want to get 8 years from a car, then you've got 8 years warranty on the battery on either one of those. The Kia is going to have a 7-year warranty on the car. The ID3 will have the 8-year warranty on the battery as well, but I think it's 3 years on the actual car itself. The Niro is actually probably one of my, up until ID3 was released, the Niro actually had it for me, and the Kia e-Soul would be the two cars that actually had it for me, and those two my favourite ones. The range is phenomenal on both of those cars. ID3 is really good, but it's very, very new, so I'd be a bit concerned about the newness of it for an 8-year. If you were turning over every 3 years, you go, nah, be alright. It's okay. VRT relief doesn't make sense to me. It only benefits cars under 40 grand. How many EVs under? There's no one under 40 grand now. You have to go right down to the bottom end of the market now for the EV under 40 grand open market selling price. So out of those ones you're listing there, I would go a Kia Niro. The Skoda Octavia is a phenomenal car. Always had a soft spot for me. But if you want to hold on to a car for 8 years, you'd only buy in a 2018 and hold on to it for 8 years, and it'd be in a petrol and a diesel. It's going to be harder to get rid of, I think, in the future. Simon K, Driven Z is SEV in Northern Ireland, very good car. That's the electric car. Yeah, they are good. Yeah. Michael Klutz, thanks Bob. To be honest with you, these small things keep me away from MGs. Electric seats without memory are pointless. I prefer the manual one, much faster to adjust between the two drivers. True. I know some people put in electric seats to kind of just say there is a tick, electric seats, tick, you know what I mean? These chrome vents, frames saw on the side mirrors during the test drive. Yeah, they're not for everybody. I think MG is a bit of a way to go, but when you look at the price pointing of what you're getting in the car versus what you would get in a similarly priced car, electric, they do very much jump to the top of the queue straight away because they are pretty efficient as well. So far, we've put no fuel in it. Nothing since we got it. It's here a week. It's here 2 weeks. I can't remember how long it's here. It's here a while anyway. The days are blurring into each other. I forget how long it's here. That's the Lexus US. Yes, UX. That's the one. I like the Lexus UX. The Lexus are doing really good things. They are going electric as well, by the way. So is Toyota. Hilsey, hi Bob. Well, I'll be finishing college within the next couple of weeks and heading into the workforce. Congratulations. Well done. What do you qualify as? What is suggestion for a sporty first fast car that won't break the bank insurance with 2 years no claims? There's nothing sporty fast that won't break the bank with insurance. Once you stray out of the absolute normal, the insurance companies just nail you, particularly when you're young. Even at my age, you can find it difficult to insure certain cars because they just don't want you in them. So the minute you want to go sporty and fast, they want to just slam you with insurance every time. All cars are sporty and fast in the last 10 years because everybody's press release says the same thing. Have a look at something like, I was going to say Golf GTI, but that'll definitely nail you. What else could be out there in the sporty feeling anyway, at least, that won't be nailed? Nothing. There's nothing I can think of that's going to be in a sporty range that you won't get nailed for 2.5 or 3 grand's worth of insurance just starting out. I'd say buy something that's reasonably priced and run it for a while, and then wait till you see if you can get a gap in the market and go for it again. Hi Bob, what do you know about diesel hybrids in Ireland? Diesel hybrids, there's very few. Most recent one I've had was a Mercedes E200DE, which is a 2-litre diesel hybrid, and that was PHEV, plug-in one, and that was super efficient, really efficient. As a diesel, it gave great fuel economy, good engine anyway, but then I had the PHEV backup, worked very well. There was the original Peugeot 3008, was also a diesel hybrid, didn't really sell very much here, and they've taken it off the market because it's very expensive. Now that Mercedes is 75,000 euros, so they're not exactly cheap, because a diesel engine is very expensive anyway, and then putting in another motor in the back of it for the electric part doubles the price effectively. So that's it. I think that's all the diesel hybrids that come to mind in Ireland at the moment. MG3 available, UK 1.5 VTI petrol starts just over 12 grand. That's actually pretty interesting. I wonder if Frank King going to bring them in new as well. Now I got my car from Eco Cars, so it's not Frank King. Mine's an ex-UK import. The speedo's in miles per hour and stuff on it, and it's the full electric one. So that's the one I wanted to test in the first place. But I know MG do more than just electric cars. But it's weird to see where MG are pointing their pricing. Like 1.5 VTI is actually pretty good for £12,000. I'm sure they'll bring something like that in here in Ireland if it's wanted. Hi Ron of Arc. Andy McPhee says, nice borrowed VW bits from the MG ZS since SIAC produced those parts under license already for VW. Steering wheels from a Golf GTD. It's mad, isn't it? It's mad to think that there's Volkswagen parts in that MG. Bob, the steering wheel of the MG is from the Golf GTI one. That's why it's good. I'm literally sitting here going, the steering wheel is very good in that car. My wife said this morning as well, it feels solid. The whole car feels very solid. But with the steering wheel, it's very good. Super car. So far, I've had no problems at all with the car. It's been an effortless transition. We have not used the public charging. We've only charged it once. We charged at home. So I've not used a single moment of public charging. And I know from past experience, the first problems I'm going to have is the minute I want to charge in the street. I know it already. I can smell it coming before I even get there. I bought my first Skoda a superb L&K without even sitting in one before I ordered it after I saw Bob's review in 2014. See, Paul O'Connor has good taste and he trusts me as well, which is always nice. You'd be surprised how doing your homework, and I don't advise you to just look at my review and then go off and buy a car. Look at Matt Watson, look at my review, look at Top Gear, look at something so you get a rounded view of the whole car. And then think to yourself, would I see myself in that car? And if you're going to be leasing, you're going to be buying on PCP or whatever, it's 3 years and it's gone anyway. So even if it's a mistake, which you won't, if you look at enough genuinely good, honest reviews of something, you won't make a mistake. Because there's a lot of good, genuinely honest people out there who are very experienced reviewing cars, who are reviewing cars. And There's a lot of people out there who are fakey makey dealers who are also reviewing cars. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but if you're a dealer, I don't think you've any business actually reviewing a car. I really don't, because your job is to sell the car for profit or for gain for yourself. So I don't think misleading people or putting up reviews of cars, I don't think should be done. And that's just from a moral perspective. It's not because you're a bad person or anything. I don't care about that. You get an audience, that's fine. But I think if you're selling something, you really shouldn't be getting a reward by putting up a review of it as well, saying it's the best car ever or it's a bad car. I don't like this thing, but you can buy it on my website. Kind of like that. Jared Hughes in chat. Afternoon, Bob and all. What do you think of the guys on the Facebook group who bought cars? I know that's scary, terrifying. Jared, in his infinite wisdom, put up a post saying, I bought a car because of Bob. Did anyone else do it? And people not only quoted what they bought, but they quoted the video they seen the car in, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, look at all these people bought cars. And it's humbling, honest to God, because you have to remember, I sit in isolation. A car's handed to me, and then I go out somewhere into Portlaoise and I put a camera on me, and there's nobody there telling me what's going to happen next, who's there, cut this, that, the other. 10 people are going to buy your car. You're a big influence in the car industry. None of that goes through your mind. Just stand there going, how do I string a sentence together to make sense of this car? How do I tell people this car is good or bad or whatever? And that's it. You don't really think about it after that. I don't think about the PR person or the car brand, and I just kind of go, it's a good car, it's a bad car, I just like it, I don't like it, and I give you all the reasons. And then you take it to an editing suite, like here where I'm sitting now, and I edit it together, and then I upload it to YouTube, and I click upload, and it's gone, and it disappears, and people watch it, and a couple of comments come in, and then you find out 2 years later somebody bought a car because of your little isolated moment in time. So it's kind of a weird, humbling experience to kind of think it that way, because I'm normally so completely disconnected. I'm disconnected by a camera, by not having anyone there. I mean, you're represented by a Canon DSLR on a tripod, which if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, and you would have seen that moment where I'm looking at a camera across the way from me, but it's the only thing in the background. This little 3-legged tripod standing there. That's you. So I talk to you guys every time. So it is kind of weird to see that, Jared. It's a really good post. Very weird to see how many people actually bought a car because of what I said as well. Peacock a lot. Bob, what model is your watch? This is a Garmin 235, and I bought the yellow strap on eBay. I think it was $3 or something, $3.50 or something. Best strap I ever bought, because I broke the other one, but I bought a yellow strap for it. It's all scratched and marked and things. It's all marked up. I want to buy, because it's fairly rough now, I want to get a Garmin 245, which is the latest version of that. Or Fenix is too expensive. I think the Garmin Fenix, I wouldn't go to Apple or anything like that for mine and my runs. I love the look of the Apple Watch, but for running stuff, I have 4 or 5 years of history wrapped into Garmin. It has every run I've ever done on every watch, and it's flawless. Plus, I'd say I charge that maybe once a week when I'm running regularly. That's it. And if I don't run, once a month. Rowan of Arc, Toyota Corolla Touring Sports, good car for my old man. Live on an island, lots of hills, torque enough, and 1.8 go, 2 litre, 1.8 torque and pepper seems current Ford Focus. The torque is good, but both of them make a weird noise when you're accelerating. So the engine goes to like 5,000 RPM, just sits there because of CVT. The 2 litre does better pulling power if you want to get something that pulls a bit better and is a little bit more fuel efficient, but both of them have the same hybrid system. So the hybrid system is no different between the two cars. They're both the same other than that. The torque is just slightly higher and more comfortable than 2 litre. Is the Ford Mach-E here yet? No, still not here, or at least I've heard nothing from Ford, but everything is shut down. So even if it was here, we probably wouldn't hear about it, because all of the lending systems that car companies were doing at the moment have been shut down, and particularly Ford, who pulled back in all of their cars on the last time I had whatever car it was, I was just about ready to film it, and they rang me and said they wanted it back, they were going to lock down, that was it. And you go, well, how do I get home? Like, if I drive it back to Dublin, how do I get home? Luckily I wasn't stuck at the time. But no sign of the Mach-E yet. It's a bad name. I don't think it's a wrong name. They should have called it something else. So much expectation. Mach-E was such an ugly looking weird car of the time. It's like a 5 litre V8 or something under the bonnet of that, and they've called an electric car a Mach-E. I don't know why they just didn't call it the Henry. Why not just call it the Henry? Like, the first time Henry Ford was making cars were electric, Anyway, Shane Friel, hi Bob, is the battery still charged now? 5110? No, it's not. No. I've lost a little charger off it, so that's the 5110. I'm not sure you can see that because I can't see the screen. Yes, that's a 5110 I have here behind me, which is as old as the hills. It was my original phone, so the battery's still on the back of it, and it does take a charge. Well, it doesn't take a charge. It's still there, like it's still on the back, and it still has a SIM card ports and everything in it. Like it's still a functioning phone. Last time I plugged this in, I've lost a charger. I should probably get one off eBay, but I lost a little charger off the bottom of that. Now the problem is, when I plugged in last time, I was able to play Snake, and all my phone numbers are still in it. Would you believe? Like, can you imagine a phone that old still working perfectly? No SIM card in it, but everything else was there. Everything else is still involved in it. Because you used to be able to move your numbers from the SIM card to the memory and all that sort of stuff. That was all still in it. Everything still worked. So it still works technically, or it did last time I turned it on, but I've lost my charger. Carlos is here from Pennsylvania. Howdy, Carlos. And he says most 2014 Zoes are battery lease. Wonder if they get any issues with Renault exporting. Oh, that could be the problem. Would that be the problem? Would it be the lease on the battery that could be causing the issue there? Which would be a pain. That battery lease, we told Renault when it came out first that it was never going to work. Stupid idea. And they went ahead with it, and that's killed the second-hand market for Zoes and Renault ZEs and everything. When they get rid of the lease off it, people will buy them. Aaron D'Souza, what do you think about the old Land Rover Defender with the T4D Transit? There's one here in the town done like that, yeah, with the TD4 Ford Transit. Fits perfectly like a glove, works perfectly as well, and will be 10 times more reliable than the original engine that was in it. More fuel efficient as well. There's a guy here in the town I met up at Lidl one time, is redoing his whole Land Rover, the old Land Rovers, and he put in one of those engines into it. He's done something else to it as well. Something else about batteries. He was doing something underneath with batteries and lamps on the roof and stuff. Really cool stuff anyway. Dave McCarthy, I can't buy a car without sitting in it. Reviewers gave me 90% of what was needed, but then they know what fits me. The ergonomics work for me. All the running shoes fit me. But that's true. That is true. There is an element of that. You would need to pay attention to how the car fits around you. I know some tall people who regularly come onto the channel and go, what height are you? It's curious because I'm 6'5" and I want to make sure I fit into this car. So there is an element of that too. Keen says, hi Bob, what thoughts on 2016 330e? Will the battery need replacing? Battery warranty only 6 years or 60,000. I'd be scared by the 60,000. I'm actually a bit worried as well. If you're looking at electric cars right now, if you look at Hyundai's ad on the television for their electric offering, it says on the bottom an 8-year battery warranty limited to 150,000 kilometers, which you could easily do 150,000 kilometers in 4 years easily. Which makes me a little bit worried about the confidence of a battery. Battery warranties used to be just 8 years full stop. End of story, didn't matter about the mileage. Just 8 years. Now it's changed a little bit down. So I'd be worried about that. Now, that said, Ronan brought his 330e onto the channel and had it mapped and got 255 horsepower of it or something. And he didn't need a new battery, so he seemed to be okay. But whether it'll need a replacement or not, I don't know. 6 years is a long time. 60k could be done in 2 years easily. There's guys here driving 50k a year in Model 3, so you could easily do it. Palatine charge about £50 to ship any pallet across the UK. Not sure about Southern Ireland though. The alloy wheels, that's true. That's from Martin. Martin Smith, okay, I don't think the March 3 Leon 2013-2017 got any new MQB VW platform tech. No. 330e is now powerful compared to some rivals. Well, you buy the E's for you're supposed to be buying the E's for efficiency, not for power, but you can have power in them as well. Pujo says, does the alloys try Fastway? I sold alloys to a lad in Wexford last year, and on Leitrim Fastway had no problem bringing them. There you go, Fastway would be the way to go. Andy Burnett, hi Bob, love your channel, thank you. What do you think of the BMW 6 Series Gran Turismo? I'm considering buying one as an everyday car and being able to tow. Just look it up. Every day I've been able to tow essentially rebadged 5 Series GT. Well, the GT was actually a good car. I have to say, I kind of had a soft spot for GTs. And I know that sounds a bit stupid because they're big, kind of lumpy things. Like they're kind of a weird big back on them. Hang on, I'll show you one. The Gran Turismo looks a bit different. Now see that one down there, the GT with the kind of weird back on it. That's the GT, or this one's the GT one. But these are 6 Series Gran Turismos, which are big, long. They get so much extra headroom. You get so much extra headroom in them. I think they might be worth a punt, to be honest with you. But they are awkward looking on the outside. They do look a little bit awkward. When you see them driving around places, they just look lumpy yokes. But I like the look of them. I like the look of those too. They'd be lovely, plenty of space in them, are you sure? What do you think about the London taxi company TX4? What's that now? Is this the new London Taxi electric yoke? The black one? No. The black cab things. Oh, this thing. Yeah, it is the electric one. That still looks the same. That hasn't changed. Hasn't changed. The London cabs, the black cabs. Look at that one. That's cool. Now, can I just point out, I think that's cool. I'd like one of these as my daily, not the diesel yokes, but I'd like one of these as my daily car. Didn't Stephen Fry drive one of them yokes around America one time? That's the traditional one, the Hackney carriage. They are ugly, aren't they? The black cabs are not exactly the prettiest cars I've ever seen in my life. Tony S. Bob, would you ever view the new Toyota RSGR with Fiesta ST or other small hatches as practical? No, they're not practical at all. None of them are. The RSGR isn't practical, but it's fun. It's the most fun you can possibly have. But when practicality comes, you got a tiny boot, and kids getting in and out of the back, there's no memory seats or nothing in them. So when you lift the seats forward to put them into the back, they go back into the wrong place. It's just, they're not practical. They're not built for it. The only practical hot hatches out there are like Volkswagen Golf GTI or Leon Coopers or any of those kind of, they're all pretty practical. But Yaris and the Fiesta ST is okay because the doors are big enough, but it's still not very practical either. But if you're going to drive around for one person, yeah, sure, just be prepared to be driving to petrol stations the whole time. Adam Crowley, hi King Bomb. We did the engine oils. Hit the like button, thank you. 55 miles per hour, that's a good username. Petrol and diesel will be around for decades yet. Nobody gets rid of $1 trillion industry that easy. Capiche? I do capiche, but the problem with that is most of the people who are invested in petrol and diesel as a business, like the big Arab countries, have all invested in battery technology, just so you know. That they're all after putting money into that too. So they're spreading their bets out a little bit. But it will certainly, as a fuel, it's going nowhere because it's actually quite an efficient fuel for certain purposes. And for big machinery and stuff that's already there, countries that don't spend a lot on transferring over their machinery, I think you're not going to get rid of it that easy. Is the MG any good? It is good, yes, so far. Hit the like button for it. That's good, man. That's the way to do it. There's DWE as well. Hi, DWE. DWE comes onto my TikTok channel as well, in case you're wondering. You can come over to TikTok and meet me there pretty much every day. You did a live thing. Aaron D'Souza, I think we did, actually last night we did chat roulette. You know chat roulette? Do you ever do chat roulette? No, you just go on and you just click browse and it just brings you to someone who has their webcam enabled and you just end up chatting to that person and it's random. It's just random. So I did it last night live on TikTok and people just thought it was the funniest thing they've ever seen. Which is quite interesting. And it is fun. It's a fun thing we do. It's not always the best crack, but it's good fun though. Where was it? Just Millennials, 21% VAT here today. Yes. No, well, they were trying to make it 23%, but Volkswagen came out and said no, they want 21%. So the government want 23%, which is what VAT should be rated at the moment with the upper level of VAT. 21% is what it's always been as VAT goes. On everything, and you pay VAT on everything. So again, the end user is the only person who pays VAT. Usual stuff. Nigel Dunn, interested to see what car of the year UK is. They say Sandero surprising. Not really. Have you seen it? I haven't driven the new Sandero, but God, it looks lovely. Well, I was supposed to drive it, but it's not out yet, and of course lockdown killed that. So it'll come out here eventually, but I think it's quite a nice looking car. It really does look well. And probably if What Car deserved it, What Car is fairly trustable in fairness to them. You can sponsor things on What Car, but not the results of that sort of stuff. Oisin Waltz, have you ever driven a Toyota Mirai? Not driven it. I've sat in it multiple times. I actually had one here in Ireland one day as well. The Mirai was here and then left again because there's nowhere to get hydrogen. But I have sat in it. Think of a big Prius, essentially. Just a big Prius inside. It looks like a Prius. It's got a special sort of a dial things and some pressure gauge and stuff in it that's not in the Prius, but the rest of it's basically the same. I don't know if we'll ever see that come out here simply because we don't have a hydrogen infrastructure here. There's one station being built up the north. That's it. That's the only one. So we haven't got anything else in yet. JP Delvin, all German diesels are brilliant value at the minute. Yeah, I know. I like the 2007 A6 3-litre Quattro for $5,000, man. A 3-litre Quattro for $5,000 2007. It's tax, man. Tax kills them here. The price here, nobody wants to buy it because they have to pay tax on it. I'd always be careful with the likes of What Car Awards. Lots of sponsoring going on there in the background. There is a lot of sponsoring on What Car. Usually relatively trustable, but you just don't quite know what you're getting because some of the stuff is wrapped up with, like, at the top it says sponsored post, whatever, but only in small letters. New Dacia concept looks interesting. It does, yeah. What Dacia is doing right now, and I've said this for a good while, what Dacia's been at for a long time has been making good value, honest cars. And now they're starting to make ones that actually look okay from the outside. Dacia concept. Hold on now. I spelled that wrong. Of course I did, because I'm trying to type around the keyboards. Have a look at this. Hang on. Lots of buttons to click. There you go. There's the Dacia concept. Look at that thing. That look good. I like that thing. The Bigster, stupid name, but still looks good, doesn't it? I kind of like the front of this here as Dacia written in it. Now this will probably never get made. These lights don't work on, when it comes to legalities, those lights don't tend to work. There's another version of a concept that we're doing a while back, so you can see the progression of how it got from here to there. Starting to look like a car now. There's a guy standing beside one. Looks tidy to me. You'd never peg that as a Dacia, would you? I mean, if you think about what Dacia, what's that? Hold on a second. I've never seen that before. That's sexy. The back of that looks like a Renault 18. That is very nice. I'm sure that probably is a Dacia somewhere tucked in the drawer, but that's what we're talking about, is the Bigster, which is kind of a cool looking car. I think it's cool looking. Dacia is doing some very interesting things, fortunately for us, because they've actually got a bit of value in them too. Eric Washer says all the vids released from what car and the awards are sponsored and well, and they're highlighted to be fair. That's true. Skoda Enyaq, haven't driven the newest one, Leonard, not yet. Still isn't in the country as far as I can see. Only driven the pre-production concept kind of one that's on the channel, the Skoda Enyaq. It's a very well built car. The pre-production one was very well built. I would not buy a Tesla for build quality problems. Well, currently the problems I'm experiencing on my Tesla, I would be very nervous of it as well, in fairness, because I've had 2 Teslas and both of them have had something wrong with them, and that's just in one day. So I had 2 Teslas in the same day and both of them had problems. It's not good. Tesla actually sell their cars at a loss. They make their profits by selling carbo offset credits to other manufacturers. Don't know how true that is. Sounds about alright, yeah. Petrol says, what percentage of the NOx tax of VRT do you know? I don't know. NOx tax comes up at the end of the VRT thing when you're going through. NOx tax is a weird tax, the way they've applied it to the cars, because it's applied individually to each car, not brands. You might even have to be tested before to do it. Everything taxed like a demon in the south. Usually if the Irish government doesn't understand it, they tax it, and when they understand it, they tax it a bit more. That's usually what happens. They just tax the shite out of it till you stop buying them, and then they give you a tax break or something. Second-hand car market already gone weird in the UK because of 2030 ban, changes in the market directory, etc. 2-litre TDI values crashed and smaller petrol cars gone mad, so used market values gone higher. Same kind of here, yeah. Diesel's not as attractive as it used to be, but still selling very well, but it's still not as attractive as it used to be, which is a bit of a pain. Jeez, we're already an hour and a half in, lads. What the hell? I'm answering questions from about 5 to 3, so I'm about 35 minutes behind you. I'll catch up though. 2002 406 2-litre HDI 110 remapped to 145. Best between refueling was 1,045 miles, 1,682 kilometres with max effort. Massive tank, a total of 72 miles. Motorway during the tank over 2 weeks. I used to have a 1997 Toyota Carina 1.6 petrol lean burn engine and did 800 miles on a tank of petrol. One tank. Serviced that car myself. Sorry I ever sold it. It's still on the road. Do SsangYong still license engine for Mercedes? I don't know that for sure. I think they do. I think they did a deal with Mercedes a long time ago, but they're also a South Korean company, so they probably get them down there too. So there'll be a mix of engines in them. Hi Bob, do you know when the Fermenter Hybrid will be out? Everything's delayed from Seat. They were trying to get out the Elborn, the Fermenter, all those other cars are supposed to come out. Seems to be just gone onto the back foot now, as everything's kind of up in the air as to who's funding what and who's going to release their cars when, and COVID lockdowns and cars that are coming we can all test and then they're not here, and all kinds of things have happened. So Fermenter was a weird one. It came out at a time just at lockdown and was brought here for Ireland for dealers to drive rather than us, but they couldn't bring it to dealers or customers' experiences or nothing, so we ended up getting it. Ever since SsangYong bought out by Mahindra, they've been putting out some good products. There you go, Aaron. Mahindra's the Indian company, put money in. There's a lot of foreign Indian, African and Chinese companies are investing in car companies. They're looking for places to spend their money. Car companies is an easy place to lose billions if you want to invest billions in something for tax write-offs purposes. Car companies will absorb a lot of money very quickly, so a lot of big companies are investing in car companies out there and they're working well. So hopefully we get more choice as well, which is good for us. Dale Davis, hi Bob, hope you're well. I am. And I'm liking the new setting. Also, I think the hybrid electric and hydrogen cars will go down in price once our more common internal combustion engines are. Yes, they will. Once we start to, I think at 50%, once we get to kind of 50% of the market being electric, I think that conversation will kind of take a back foot. It'll go away a little bit because we need to stop focusing so hard on whether we go electric or petrol or diesel and just let it happen, because it will happen. There's nothing much you can do about it, as there's people coming into the market now who are buying brand new electric cars who have never owned a car before. It's their first car. They're buying their first car ever, and it's electric. And so they don't have a heritage or a history to go with. They don't care less about anything we do when we're talking about internal combustions or the sound of a V8. They don't care. They just want a car to get them to work. And electric is the way they're going. So eventually the market will become 50% electric. And then we can hold on to our cars. They become classics. They become nice cars to drive. We'll get rid of these fridges that we run now as cars. These copy and paste versions of the cars that we just keep firing out the whole time. I think they'll disappear over time as well. And finally, cycling used to be my preferred mode of transport with 20 to 40 miles per day for years before the Lycra-born crew appeared. Don't have full range of movement, the ankle and knees, so can't be done now. That's a shame. It's really good. I do enjoy cycling. I haven't cycled all winter. I've been running a little bit, but I haven't cycled all winter. I need to get back out and start doing the cycling and running and everything properly again. But this lockdown and the weather's been dreadful, so it's really hard. What do you think? New generation Hyundai Tucson self-charging hybrid. I hate that word, but yeah, I know what you mean. 230 brake horsepower, 1.6 turbo petrol, great performance, styling, looks great. They are very stylish, I have to say. Haven't driven a new Tucson just yet, but it is a very stylish car. I tend to favour I get less comments over the warranty from a Kia, and it's the same car, like the Kia Rio, or not Rio, the Sportage. And the other bigger one, which I really like the look of, is what I do with Kia. Hyundai make great cars. Kia make great cars. They're both very similar to one another. Two different companies here in Ireland, obviously, but back home in the home territories, they're the same company, same factory, same everything. So you can get the same car in another wrapper from Kia. But they're lovely cars. They do look really well. The new Hyundai is actually pretty looking car, yeah. Corando gets a child to try reach up for the rear door handle outside without a stepladder. Or the Corandos, yeah, they're quite tall at the back. Then the same applies to Toyota. Is it CHR? Toyota CHR, where the handle's way up top. The new Nissan Juke handles way off up as well. Weird place to put handles. I cycle like 20 miles minimum 3 days a week, with another 50 to 60 mile cycle at some point a weekend. Mountain bike XC race, like a bit of mountain biking. David Cuddy's into the mountain biking stuff as well. I should go out with him someday. Oh no, I don't have a good mountain bike. US getting ID4 but no ID3, no Golf Mark 8 yet. Really? No ID3? Why wouldn't they get an ID3? It's such a big car. I will be playing with ID4 at some point in the future, not far away, I don't think. If you haven't seen the ID4, it's like a big ID3. It's like a bigger ID3. Actually, if you put the two of them side by side, you'd find it difficult to tell the difference between the two. From pictures anyway, at least. That's what an ID4 looks like. And that's what an ID3 looks like. So they look the same, pretty much. But the ID4 is a bit elongated on the back. There's a longer bit on the side, and there's some differences around the front. But in that typical sort of VW way, they've just kind of, how would you say, sort of copy and pasted and made it a bit bigger. That's essentially what it is. ID4 is more for the German or for the US market as well. Volkswagen wants to become electric ever since the diesel scandal. Almost instantaneously. Scrap VRT and tax water. Oh, Andy, that's controversial. Whoa, water charges. Whoa, don't open that can of worms in this country. Oh, not again. Bob, in 20 years working at VW, trying to sell summer winter tires, never caught on. UK and Ireland stick with the standard all-weather tires. Yeah, it's pretty much. We went through 1 year here where we had a really heavy snow and it lasted about 3 weeks. And BMWs were sticking out of ditches all over the country, and every time the news came on, there was a BMW sticking out of a hedge or doing donuts in a nice circle, absolutely frozen to the ground. Just that year and a couple of years after that, winter tires suddenly became very popular here. But no one realised that you had to store winter tires during the summer. and you'd have to change the tires over and back and over and back, and so it didn't catch on for a very long period of time. And so that's why I go in for the cross climates, just by all season tires. It's much better, it's much easier. You don't need to change them over, they just work. And they work no matter the temperature, up, down, whatever. Just don't work when you go to southern Spain, and they don't work when you go to northern Norway or something where you need winter tires. Aaron D'Souza, I don't know, like public transport, I right too. I always see itchy people, not just sketchy people. I always just feel a little bit unclean on public transport. Although I had it during the lockdown, it's not bad. I did come home on a train one day during the lockdown, and it was quite a pleasant experience. But then I was on my own in a carriage, completely alone. There was no one else there, so that could have been something to do with it. What kind of long range running is drug addiction? The bodies release painkillers and other feel good chemicals, so people become addicted to that. That is correct. When I was doing regular long runs, I would really miss it when I didn't go. If I didn't go for a 10k 3 times a week, I'd start to get itchy feet and legs and weirdness, and I just wanted to go out and run. It would drive me mad. I'm finding it difficult this time, and I think that's lockdown. I think at the moment lockdown is playing with people's minds and heads and concentration levels and stuff. It's finding it very hard to concentrate on things. Martin Smith, cross climate bobs, use them on our response cars for all year round. Cars driven hot and cold, warm and dry, wet and cold, work well. See, they just kind of mix weathers all over the place. Much better. A new one, B's diesel 347 brake horsepower S4. A diesel 347. Alright, I didn't see that. I haven't driven it. I haven't driven S4. I haven't driven a lot of Audis in the last 12 months, to be honest with you. It's nearly 12 months. A picture came up on my, that Google reminder today. That came up today, of me standing in a dark airport in Dublin taking a picture of a Ryanair plane, which I used to do quite regularly when I was flying out. And I tweeted Ryanair to say, I miss you. I absolutely hated flying Ryanair, but I'd gladly give up on to fly a Ryanair now. So lockdown has barred us from driving basically everything for the last 12 months. It's hard to keep up with the stuff, actually. Used to get 30 dog on the interstate in long runs, and a Dodge Charger with a 5.7 litre Hemi. Big engines just cruise along. 30 mpg, yeah, they just cruise along quite nicely. No matter what's petrol or diesel or whatever, the bigger the engine, the less work it has to do. Hyundai i30, says George. I don't know what year you're talking about. i30 is a good car. All those i cars were pretty good. The i10, i20 and i30 were all pretty standard cars. The i40 was a bit big, I think, a little bit weird, and the electric steering didn't really suit it, but i30 downwards is okay, yeah. Good fuel economy, 5.7 litre V8 for 8F for using US MPG, then it's 35 miles per gallon in the UK, which is good. It is 40 miles per gallon used to be the golden rule for cars once upon a time. It didn't reach 40 miles per gallon, it wouldn't even sell, but 35 mpg from 5.7 litre V8, nothing wrong with that. Do you agree with government incentives for electric and hybrid vehicles? No, I think we should take away the incentives and level the playing field. Right now you're distorting the playing field by giving out grants and $5,000 here and $5,000 there and this other grant and bonus off this and grant for solar. If you stop doing that and just let the market decide, because the market is very, very good at deciding for itself. It really is. It does such a good job at deciding for everything else. But now suddenly that the car companies are involved, we have to start granting out the car prices. So if you say to somebody, this is €10,000 and I'm going to give you a €5,000 grant off it, you can bet that person puts the price of that thing up to 12 or 13,000 and then gets $5,000 off it. So you're distorting the prices as there be a little bit of greed. Either that or give the home user €5,000 to go to the dealership with in their pocket. That changes things straight away. Instead of saying we get a grant, we get a grant. Pay full price for the car and we'll grant off $5,000 after it. That doesn't work because you just give them $5,000 to the dealership then. So it doesn't work, no. Leonard Conley, Skoda Enyaq, is it any good? You asked that already. It is, it's okay, but I haven't driven the brand new one. Dynamic frame, my old Focus ST 2.5 litre turbo just got better MPG than my brand new 2 litre turbo Cupra Leon DSG. The bigger engines are better. They are, definitely. I got one of the best fuel economy things I was driving in was, remember the old 2002 Skoda Octavia diesel thing, which is just like a 2 litre diesel. That thing did like 80 miles to the gallon on motorway. I don't even know how it did that. It was really good. It's the gearing system in it. Aaron D'Souza, the Land Rover 4.4 litre TDV8 engine gets better MPG at times than my other 2 litre Ingenium 4-cylinder. No, I'm not content with that Ingenium. It's a great name, just not sure about that Ingenium. Longevity wise, don't know how it's going to work. Dale Davis, what do you think about mild hybrids? They don't work. They've got to stop doing a mild hybrid. I hate the word mild hybrid because you don't know if you're getting something that's just running the lights in the car or you're getting something that's actually assisting the engine. Some of them assist the engines up to, I think it's 18 kilometers an hour or something, and other ones give no assistance. They just run the air conditioning and the lights, but there's no way of telling which one's doing what. So essentially when you buy, I don't know, a Ford Focus, you buy a 50 kg battery in the boot, that's the mild hybrid bit, or it could be a 15 kg battery, like a normal 12 volt one. You just don't know. It's another way of messing with the numbers, another way of getting away from having a straight petrol, straight diesel. Oh no, it's a mild hybrid. We can still sell them under the system. Doesn't make any sense. I don't like mild hybrids. I like the cars that they're in because they're often just put into normal cars, but the mild hybrid idea is just crap. VW Golf Mark 8 GTD, your opinion? I don't like the look of the Mark 8 Golf. Mark 7.5 was the pinnacle of Volkswagen's looks. I think the new look on the front of the car isn't as good anymore. Now, I haven't driven the GTD or the GTI of them yet, but that's coming when we get off these lockdown things. But Mark 8, I think the look is weird, isn't it? We just look, hang on, we'll look it up. VW Golf MK8. Get a picture. Hold on. Cut that picture. There we go. Now, back is still a Mark 7, right? The back is still a Mark 7. From this angle, that is every bit of Mark 7, 7.5. From this angle, it's a Mark 8. Right? I'm just not sure of the look of that. I can't quite nail why I don't like it. I think it's just the bonnet line is so low or something here in the front. I just can't work it out. But it's just not a kind of car that I would be... The look of it doesn't really do it for me. It could be good. I'm not sure. It could be great to drive though. As Mark 7 was great to drive, so that could be it. Thomas Hyler, good morning, Bob. Watching in the morning, foggy New Orleans. Good man, Thomas Hyler. Hope you have a great day. Thank you very much. Oshin Watch, I'm liking the look of new Yaris Cross. Not a bad looking car actually. I like Yaris. I'm picking up a Yaris next week, the hybrid one, which is quite nice. Michael Klutz says, absolutely, the MG ZS is crazy value for the bucks. I'm waiting for a refreshed MG ZS for a long time, but my diesel is dying, so to order an EV now. It is very good value. I have to say, brand new even, the MG ZE looks really good value. But or ZS. The one I have is a UK import, and ecocars.ie sorted it out for me, so they're after getting the prices right. Definitely worth a look at if you're going electric at the moment. 5th February, I know it means miss New Orleans. Spent a month there a while back. Crazy place. Loved the big Al Carson. Not there before. Aaron D'Souza, don't like the DSG gearbox. They aren't as smooth as torque converted gearboxes. Even Audi's moving from DSG to CVT to normal autos, but worse gearbox than Nissan Xtronic is not good. Yeah, CVT is very light and so quite efficient, but it does make the engine sound funny because it's essentially the elastic band doing its thing. Any update on Jeep Compass? No, I've heard nothing from Fiat Ireland, who are the Jeep Ireland of this world. Jeep Compass is actually not a bad looking car. I liked it when I had it last time, but it does need a refresh by now. That's what it looks like. It does definitely need a refresh. I think that's the kind of refresh where you want. No, this one here is it. I can't remember. Oh no, Jeep Compass is this kind of one here. Snub nose looking yoke. Looks well to me. I think Jeep Compass. I like Jeeps though. I like the Jeep brand. They make great, the Jeep Wrangler and all, they're good fun. I don't understand the stereotype around auto boxes. You can't call people lazy. Sure, you're in a car not walking around. No, not lazy. I just don't like to use my left leg. That's, for me, it's not about the person being lazy. I just don't want to be using my left leg to do anything. And where it's just shot forward me there. It's first time today it's not shooting forward. I mean, pretty good at keeping it bang on there. Hi Bob, was there some Citroen DS diesel hybrid? There may have been, Luke. I'm not sure. They did because Peugeot did one, so Citroen would have done one as well. But they took them all off the market because the price here you're paying for a diesel and a hybrid. You're paying for all in one, and diesel was always much more expensive here than petrol, so they took them off the market. Aaron says 1.5 VTI engines only have 5-speed manual gearbox, which is quite outdated for 5-speed. 5-speed is like manual gearbox all go up to 6 now. And then automatic gearboxes can go up to 10. Like, so you can have 10, even more than that, I think. But 10 at least is the most I've driven with. Tax Pro, Bob, help me out. 2019 2-litre Quattro diesel A4, A6 Avant or Skoda Kodiaq from 2019. I would go with an A6 Avant just because I like them a lot. But a Skoda Kodiaq is a really good, sensible buy. But it depends on what you like. Where do you want to be? Audi brings a certain level of, I'm an Audi driver, and then there's Skoda drivers, who's a different kind of a driver as well. So don't you like the Skoda Kodiaq is pretty good. Yeah, it's a really good car, but A6 Avant is a bigger boot. They're always bigger. Estates are always bigger than those SUVs. Bob, does taking an MG car for a year almost free motoring not compromise your no sponsorship? There's no sponsorship. No, not really. No, doesn't really, because there's no sponsorship involved. Literally, Eco Cars went, here's the keys, drive. That's it. Do what you want with it. Then there's no. So sponsorship is where I'm sponsored to say the car is good. If the car was bad, I'd just tell you the car was bad. You know me, I'm a very straight talker, lads. I really don't mess around with this sponsorship stuff at all. If it was possible to be sponsored, I would have been sponsored by now, but everyone's a bit nervous because it's like, what's he going to say? So that's kind of no. I don't think the sponsorship doesn't really work out for me. There's no money changing hands. The car still belongs to them. Mark O'Reilly, I have a sporty fast Leon FR 1884 brake horsepower diesel. It's easy to insure. I'm selling. That's easy to insure. Well, yeah, because you just take away the letter FR out of it. Say it, Leon. This is diesel Leon. Hi Bob, I was a big fan of your videos, reviews. Always tune in. Leonard Conley. Thanks, Leonard. Mercedes Sprinter as camper conversions are great, but it's very hard to get them converted. It's actually quite expensive for conversion unless you're going to do it yourself. It's very expensive. There is some kits I've seen up the north recently which I was very curious by. You basically buy the whole kitchen and bed in a kit form, and they send you down a kit and you just install the kit straight into you do the installation, but they supply the kit for the conversion, which seems like a good idea to me. I don't know why people didn't think of that before, instead of building it all out yourself. I don't know whether you'd save money on that, but I do love the idea of converting a camper van. ZS EV, when launched, you could pre-order then extend it after our next 100 orders to get it for 22,495. I think they're 30 something grand here. Are they? MG Ireland. Just check the price. Book a test drive. I don't want to do that. MGS. Only 2 models here. Hang on, we'll click over. You can see what I'm doing. If you look at the models list, there's only 2 models on it: plug-in hybrid or electric. That's the car I have outside the door. Only it's black. 28,995 including grants from starting at. There is the actual price range. So the tri-coat, don't know what that means. 32,895. All 5 seats, all autos, all 143 PS. I have mine's an exclusive one, but I think it might be this one. I have a feeling it's that one. Exclusive crossover MGZE metallic. Mine's in black anyway. Really good. I don't really have a problem with it. I failed to see where anyone's thinking that these are a problem, these MG cars, but so far for me perfectly good. But you see the price there range from 28,995 up to 32,895, so you're along the same price, not far off your price there, Andy. John Dunn, hi Bob, I have to agree that EVs and Kia in particular have a sole EV for a year over 12 months and 8,500 kilometres. It cost me €145, mostly charged on night rate electricity. Bloody hell, John. €145 for 8,500 kilometres motoring. That cannot be sniffed at. That's really good. That is really good pricing. Talking gearboxes, says Eric Rotter. DSG is nice but jerky at low speed. It can be now. The new ones are, yeah. Jumping from first to second too quick like my last Superb. I love the 9-speed Mercedes box. Hard to beat. You don't even feel the gear changes. Mercedes do gearboxes very well in that 9-speed one. The DSG does do that up and down, forward and back a little bit between first and second. And also I find on a motorway it goes from like 6th to 5th for no reason. Just does it on its own. I don't know why. Dale Davis, what new cars you plan? Oh, I plan to review all of them, but whether I actually get around to them or not, because everything is closed, I can't get at a lot of stuff. That's the problem. High Peak Autos is good at reviewing cars because he reviews cars like he's just a car reviewer and never talks about the car being for sale, even though it's a dealer. Alright, well yeah, when they're a dealer, I still have a problem with it. I know there could be the best reviewer in the world, but when they're selling something, I still have a problem with it. It's not that I mind anyone doing it. It's okay if they want to do it, it's fine. But just as long as they're absolutely clear that they are a dealer and they are probably selling this car. If you want to buy it, it's over there. It's for sale. It's 23. That's okay. I'm okay with that. As long as everyone's clear on it, that it's not an independent review. And that's the problem I have with most of those guys. But I'm sure it does a great job, yeah. Phone charger. Thinner, thicker charging pin. May have one to draw for you. I don't know. For this thing. It's the thinner one. Can you see that on the camera? I'm not sure you can see that on the camera. And And just move that out of my way so I can see what I'm doing as well. That's the one that's on the bottom of that. It's an Nokia 5110, whatever that works out to be charger wise. Not this thing. That's the hands free. That's the charger over there. It's the pin charger. It still works fine as far as I know. I could probably find it. It's here. I didn't throw it out or anything. It's around somewhere in the bag. You know what's one? I'm sure you all have. Men have all got these kind of things. It's a plastic bag and it's full of cables. Somewhere in that cable there'll be a charger that suits that thing. Somewhere in there. What's the Honda E like? There's a review of the Honda E in my channel. It's really good. Very short range, but it's really good. I think you will wear thin of the electronics, the electric dashboard. I think eventually you'll go, I'm fed up with this electric dashboard thing. I don't need it anymore. I think that will annoy you after a while, because you have to reach off over there to get stuff on the other screen, to flip the screens around. Lots of touchy, screeny stuff going on, but they still have the good knobs and dials and things that you want as well. They're still there for heating and all that. Anyway, I don't know why, but I want a Smart Roadster Coupe Barabbas. They have been in my head. Good, appreciating that. Would you? Yeah. Smart Roadster's good. Smart 4.4 is good. Smart Roadster had an absolutely dire gearbox, but it was actually a pretty good car. Dire gearbox though. Can't pronounce your name. Who's going to pay for all this electricity and the fossil fuel, nuclear, wind, sunlight? Have a look at Michael Moore. Michael Moore doesn't know what he was talking about, to be honest with you. People are like, she weren't traumatized. Michael Moore was uninformed when he made that documentary. I've seen that documentary and it's very outdated. He was pulling on information that was 15 or 20 years old. Realistically, in Ireland here, we some days get more than 60% of our stuff from renewables, quite regularly getting upwards of 80% from renewables. Now we're shutting down. Peat-fired power stations are basically gone. Hydroelectric station up in Wicklow. We're doing wind farms out the road here. We have there's one going into Portlaoise here, which is going to be a electric station that burns rubbish at a really high temperature and they're very clean. That's going into Portlaoise here to run our electricity here. So it's all happening. Michael Moore's stuff was so far out of date it got banned. The information was just wrong, because it was just old information. Not that it was wrong when he started making. I'm sure he was right, but then it became wrong. Battery life concern. Battery life is a big concern for everybody. Keen, to be honest with you, a lot of people are talking about their battery life in their own cars, whether they could make it work or not. And I'm always a bit nervous about giving out information about batteries and then realizing that in 5 or 6 years' time somebody needs a whole new battery, which is basically the whole car. Robbie K. My 2014 Macan 1.5 DCI is making a whining noise under acceleration. I've taken it in and I couldn't find anything. It's getting louder and louder. Should I be concerned? Well, you should always be concerned by something different happening to your car, some new noise that's come along. Generally speaking, most mechanics would just tell you to leave it alone until something actually breaks, until something actually happens to it. The preventative stuff like that, just finding out what whining noises is a problem. It could be whining noises can be made by anything from a bearing and a wheel somewhere, which sounds like it's coming from the front engine, but it's actually coming from one of the wheels. That's probably more likely to be what the problem is. Whining noises are weird like that. Generally, it's some kind of bearing. So I'd be looking at my wheels, to be honest with you. I get someone to stand outside the car, and as it drives by, listening to it. I know that sounds really bad, but you can do it. Often you can't hear things from inside the car, you hear it outside. I wouldn't be too concerned though if the car's running. Okay, I'd leave it alone. Owen Dial, I'm thinking of changing my car to a 2012 Mondeo for an SUV. Outlander, let's see me in electric space, best newer option 2.4 petrol. Outlander's pretty good. Outlander was way ahead of its time. It's now behind the times, but it was way ahead of its time at the time. But Mitsubishi Ireland's gone. Be really careful what you're buying now at the moment, just because the 8-year warranty that's on them isn't necessarily there anymore. It's not going to be that straightforward to get things done because Mitsubishi Ireland are finished. Although Frank Keane is supporting Mitsubishi out there, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. But it's a good car, yeah, for sure. It's a really good car. Loads of them around as well. Sam Luby, hi Bob, thinking of getting a new exhaust for my car, downpipe, catback, will it tell insurance does it affect the NCT? Not going to affect your NCT unless you fail on emissions for some reason, unless something happens because you've removed bits and pieces from the car that help with your emissions. But you're not going to fail the NCT because of a straight pipe or down pipes or any of that sort of stuff. But if you make it really loud, you will fail it because of noise that your car is making. Also because you just attract the attention of the car as you drive up along the road with your big on the back of it. But other than that, you don't fail really anything. But you do need to tell insurance. It is a modification to your car. You need to tell the insurance company. Any modifications done to your car at all need to be told. Outlander's quite dated. Mitsubishi going to leave because the sales of Mitsubishi cars are quite dead. True, it is fairly dated now. Yeah, it was very efficient when it came out first. They were ahead of their time when they came out with the Outlander PHEV one. They were way ahead, but now they're so far behind because everyone else has moved on from PHEV into semi-electric and highly efficient sort of battery technology and things. The 3-engine thing is no longer required. That was in a PHEV at that time. Des Chambers, I have a 2016 BMW 330e. See, there's 330e coming up the whole time. Lovely car, great to drive, but electric range is limited, very, especially in winter. Looking to get 16 kilometers on electric in winter, but it's still a hybrid, so very efficient. I had the I've had those E330s and things here as well. I found them all to be more or less the same. You get so far and then it just runs out. Then it's a hybrid. But like I had the Peugeot 508 at Christmas time, and it's a great car, but the range was less than 20 kilometers on that. You charge it every day. Every single day, and it just was a pain in the arse, if I'm honest. Most people I know still have diesel cars, never want to change. That's true. That is true. A lot of people around here be the same. You meet to town and go, oh, electric car, what's that like? Oh, I'm happy enough for me 2-litre diesel. That's it. They have no interest. Hello from Pit Stop Motors in NI. How are you, Chris? How's it going? One question: do you still believe that DCC suspension is bad on new Leon? Yes, I do. On the 20FR, yeah, it's still a bit sharp. I would say that's still a bit sharp. I would go with the standard Seat Leon rather than the FR. I find it crashy. It's hard to explain what I mean by that. It just doesn't respond very well to undulations and weird bumps in the road. And a lot of that comes from the fact that we would normally fly to Barcelona and give our review of the car over there, and then they would take that into account when they're going to bring the car out in Ireland. As it would come out, they'd look at our response and go, the suspension's too hard to this, to that, and then they'd adjust it for Ireland itself. But they're not doing it now. We didn't get a chance to do that because it was all locked down. And so I would say the FR is still a little bit on the crashy side. Donald Trump, what extra VRT and VAT would apply to import a 35-year-old 1986 car from the UK? Not sure about that one. That would classify as a classic car. You would be in a classic level. I would say that would they put on a VRT? I don't know. I'm afraid to say, in case they do slap you with VRT left, right, and centre when you're importing a car at all. But I wouldn't think so. There's a good healthy trade in used cars. Those older 86 cars in there right now. New Hyundais are good. I had a 2013 Hyundai i10. It was a really bad car, but a few years Hyundai moved so much. Hyundai's leaps, and Hyundai have unlimited pits of money. They just have. If there's anyone can outspend you right now, it's Hyundai. They have tons of money. Hi Bob, looking for a new car. 1.6 2011 Golf or 2013 Passat. Not worried about insurance around. I'd go to 2-litre Passat if I was honest with you, instead of 1.6. 2-litre Passat's going to be nicer to drive than a 1.6 Golf. I would go a 2-litre TDI Golf if you could. Much better car to drive, but Passat's a better one. Buying a Passat Estate, nice, and more practical as well in all respects. We're flying along. Loads of Jason McCuddy found a problem with the oil on top of the engine mount. It's the engine mount itself. There was oil filled in the Ford Focus. Get out, Jason. Did not know that. The engine mount itself, there now. At least it's not as much of a panic as it was before. Dave McCarthy, surprised Toyota and other Japan brands aren't in move with EVs. Japan's 100% oil imports. Yeah, they've got a lot of tax things going on there with their systems that is disallowing essentially electric cars, which is kind of weird. You'd imagine Japanese just go bang electric, no problem, but they're quite slow about doing it. Cars aren't aren't half as popular as you think per capita in Japan as they are here. A lot of people don't have one. But they are very heavy on their CO2 emissions. JP Devon says car throttle bought an 03 1.9 TDI with 500,000 miles on it and average 68 miles per gallon because they weigh nothing. No safety equipment in them. It's safety stuff weighing them down, and airbags and active cruise controls and big stereos and massive seats and all that stuff was just forgotten about in old cars to just drive on. They're answering each other question. Have you seen the MG HS? Next one up from ZS. Turbo Petrol's 1-litre PHEV. Such a massive leap in quality and refinement over ZS. Very promising direction from China. I'm telling you, that's what I told you years ago. China's going to come in and stamp all over the European car market. They'll just flood the market with stuff. I want you to think of a few brands that are Chinese, specifically like Xiaomi, like another company called Honor, HONOR. They're dominating the gaming market at the moment with their laptops and with their mobile phones. Completely Chinese companies. Never heard of the guys until 3 years ago, and then suddenly, bang, they're absolutely everywhere. So be aware that Chinese companies are looking at the car industry here and going, we have a point we can get in, and MG is the beginning of it. They're only the start of it. It won't end anytime soon. High Peak Autos very unbiased reviews, even though he's found the data found very on. There's High Peak again. Must be advertising himself, is he? Bob, Eco Cars would be able to sell that MG ZS for having a famous owner to be greater. Yeah, I haven't even put up a picture of the license plate of it yet. My wife said I won't be able to drive it anywhere in Portlaoise. Everybody be looking for you if you put up the license plate of it. So it's gonna be funny to do that, but we'll see. I'm sure we'll do all right. Was it sad to change a car for a younger model, or should I change something different? Currently have a Honda HR-V diesel, thanks. Is it sad to change your car for a younger model? Not really. It tends to be nice, a nice little changeover as it is, because that's exactly what people want to do, is get something new. I tend to like to hold on to things for as long as they possibly can. That's always my take, is to go just drive it until it completely crumbles. It's a much nicer thing to do. But if you need to change over, then you change over. Listen, we've reached it. It is 4:05. Would you believe that is the fastest 2 hours I've ever spent in my life going through stuff? Amazing amount. Over 3,000 of you here today, which has been a brilliant day for the Sunday service. It's great. I hope you can get through the rest of this week nice and gently without killing yourself. Take it easy. Don't do too much. You know, you do enough to keep your jobs going, but don't be doing any more than you need to be doing. Like, if you don't need to get dressed, then don't get dressed. It's all right. But at least get your head straight, get some exercise into you, get outside the front door, start walking, start running, start cycling, start getting your blood pumping, because it'll make you feel better up here, not just here. It's up here is where you want to do, because that's the stuff's going to get us through the lockdown. We only have another few days left of this month before we're actually into February, where we come into the end of these lockdowns. All fingers crossed that we get into the end of the lockdown, start getting back to normality of some sort. But if we don't, fear not, I'll be here every Sunday for you. You can find me over on TikTok as well if you want to join in on something that's more kind of instantaneously live. Or you can join me over on Instagram, where I'm doing some Instagram-y posts and stuff with the cars I'm driving, and we'll do more with the MG that's out there as well. We'll do that kind of stuff. So all that stuff is going to be happening every single week, and I'll try my best to keep you entertained. Review of the MG coming up next week. Model 3 problems review will be coming up next week as well, because we've had 2 Model 3s and both of them are broke. I'm sure Tesla's going to be really happy with that one. And there's a whole heap of other stuff coming up as well. And even if I don't get the transfer over to other cars, I'll still be reviewing the MGs and the old Leons and all the stuff that's there, and a couple of other documentaries planned as well. Plus the podcast is going to be coming up very soon as well. We're going to have tons and tons of content coming out, so please stay subscribed. If you can donate, it's great. If you can't afford it, don't worry about it, it's alright. Patreon is the best way of doing it. Channel memberships is there as well, or you can just do a straight up PayPal. Whatever way it suits you, it's fine. But if you can't afford it, then don't worry about it. Sit back, the content is always free. All I ask you to do is subscribe and share whenever you can. Thank you very much for joining me again this week, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side.